Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Goodest cast. And on this episode, we got Geoff Pitts, founder of Thunder Drift, one of the earliest NorCal drift associations. We talk about early NorCal drifting. We talk about crazy FD stories. He used to shoot for Lifeblasters, which was like a media company that would tour around with FD. He worked with Ryan Kado's team. He worked with a bunch of people, and they had a really cool blog that honestly had some wild stuff on it. We get into some of that. We also get into like Fantasy Junction, where he works. We actually shot it there. It's really cool. Now his job is just driving $1 million cars around and getting cool clips of it. We talk about that a bunch. It's interesting to see the progression of dude who worked at Bob's Donuts in San Francisco in the middle of the night to guy who drives $1 million cars around just to like get clips so that they can sell them for a lot of money. Geoff's a cool dude. He's been a big part of the community in NorCal, and we're happy to have him on the Goodest cast. So Geoff Pitts, check it out. Are you guys low on fuel? Do you have no energy? I can relate, but I got a solution for you. Guess what? Fuel Lab. And they make pumps, and they make all kinds of stuff. They make drop-ins, surge tanks, and dude, if you're trying to shoot hot corn into your engine just to make them big old explosions and let them bald eagles fly, let me tell you what, Fuel Lab's the place to go. And we got a discount code now. I think it's Goodest. But yeah, get yourself a discount on the hottest shit on the planet, dude. Get your engine to rev to 10,000. Don't do that. Ask your tuner. I'm not a financial advisor. Anyway, get yourself some Fuel Lab. I got it in my car. It's been good to me. It's been pumping hot corn into my freaking 1J and just letting it explode, you know? What? Fuel Lab. Get yourself the best pumps on the planet, dude. Pump it up with Fuel Lab.
I'll just say before we start, this is going to be a really interesting exercise for me because in especially in recent years, I've realized that in general I talk too much, and I've tried to start shutting up, you know, and
this is the perfect place for that, though.
But then I've also never been interviewed like this before in like any capacity, and so it's going to be really interesting kind of balance between me trying to be modest and stay humble, and then also give you what you want here, you know. Anyway,
dude, just be yourself. You don't have to worry about not talking too much. That's what podcasts are for.
I know, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I spend so much of my mental energy these days on trying to be concise and not don't ramble on too much, don't tell too many stories, and then that's what this is for.
Yeah,
so
that's what the people want.
Yeah, the people. This is I mean, by the way, congratulations on your podcast.
Thanks,
dude. This is a really serious podcast.
Yeah,
I've never been on any podcast before, but I've been on a late night local college radio and things like that before. So.
Nice. You got the late night college radio voice.
My two roommates back in the day were I forget what their show was called, but they were DJ Velvet Touch and DJ Baby Snakes. It was excellent. It was really it was good stuff. I got on with them and did I was a guest host, and I did a history of hip hop series of shows where I would be like, hey, you like Biggie, right? Well, here's Bob James Nautilus, and here's all the all this old fun stuff. Yeah, it was good times.
Damn, college days.
No, I was way after. We just had connections at the at the little radio station thing.
Yeah,
it wasn't a college radio. I guess it just meant that kind of level. It was some kind of local broadcast thing here in West Oakland. Yeah, I can't remember what station it was. Anyway,
sick,
fun times.
Yeah. So I've known you 10 years.
Okay. Yeah.
You were the Thunder Drift guy.
Yep.
You ran pretty much what was drifting in Northern California when I was getting into drifting, and I didn't know much about you, and then through mutual friends we had hung out here and there. And I don't know. I'm really excited to do this because I don't have a lot of early NorCal historians.
Oh, cool! Yeah,
and especially
I love that stuff. Yeah,
the drifting stuff turning into this vintage motorsports life that you have now.
Yeah.
It's like very interesting, and I think like a lot of people are on that trajectory. It's like if you like love cars, you're gonna like stay around it.
Yeah. And Hachis are vintage now, and so are S13s. I mean, that's,
Do you still have your Hachi?
I still own my Hachi. It is a sad, sorry, rotted shell of a Hachi, but I do still own it. I took it off the road in 2010 with 330,000 miles on the chassis with the 4AC. Oh yeah, right. Still a baby. Still 4AC. Like that car, when I drove it around, it was SR5 underneath with cut springs and a mini spool that I think Daryl gave me. So I mean, it was like just barely actually a drift car. It really wasn't. And I took it off the road. I said, like, I know the motor's never going to die, but when the transmission starts really making a lot of noise, I'm going to take it off the road and build it. That was 2010. And there it still sits.
Yeah. I mean, relatable. I'm sure all of us have projects that are like, yeah, fuck.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like I feel like a difference I see in myself compared to other people around me is that I never even tried to, it was like it just sat. At one point I got some coilovers from Gabe from T3, and those were like ready to assemble, but it was just like the coilover kit in a box.
Yeah.
And I ended up selling it because I needed to pay the rent or something. And I had a GTS bell housing that belonged to Thomas Olek that I just gave back to him. And I bought oh man, talk about history. Zip Tide come up. I drove to SoCal and I bought a Celica Supra rear end, complete rear end with an extra center section and some extra disc brake parts and stuff. I think I paid $180.
What?
And so I guess, out there in the world, if you know what that kind of stuff is selling for these days, so like really a massive hookup. But anyway, yeah. So the car as it sits right now is sitting on. Another quick funny story is I was moving away from where I lived at the time, and the car was going to go to my parents' property up in Nevada City and rot in the woods for decades. And Alvin. He's still around. He drifts a Corvette now, right?
Yeah, he came back in full force.
He
was like gone for eternity, and then just showed up and was like trying to drive every event. And then I haven't seen him. Well, he did like a year blast, and then like I haven't seen him since. So I don't know.
Sometimes that's what that you scratch the itch and then you move on. But yeah, he used to be savage in a Corolla, and this was actually during. This is later, I think, during like the Golden Gate Drift Pro-Am era. He was total savage in that Corolla, and he blew up his rear end, and he was like, dude, can you help me? Is there anything? And I said, well, okay, I have an SR5 rear end with a spool in it, and you can have it, but you have to come here and you have to put my Celica Supra diff just enough to get it to roll on a trailer, because I knew it was going to go off for storage. And I was like, and then you can just take the SR5 diff, and I was like, I don't even know how long that's going to hold up behind your 4AG, but anyway, yeah, he ran it, and I think he ran at least one round with it, and it didn't blow up somehow.
That's cool.
If you've seen the difference in size between even just SR5 axles to the GTS rear end axles, it's impressive difference. They're toothpicks. So anyway, yeah. But my Hachi sits and rots.
Yeah, one day. I want to know the origins of you and the origins of Thunderdrift. Like, how did you come across the drifting thing, and like where did it all start?
Well, so man, so I'm a sort of a motorsports brat. My dad was a SCCA guy forever and ever. Like when I grew up, I was going to SCCA club racing events with him, and he loved vintage racing. So that's kind of where vintage stuff started for me.
Full circle.
Kind of coming back to. So in the 90s, like he was one of the chief stewards for the Monterey Historics. And so I was 5 years old and like running around in the control tower at the Historics. And I think that's kind of like where I learned to be a race official and less so of a driver, even though I always wanted to just be a driver. Anyway, so that's kind of where I came from. My dad, by the way, is like a pharmaceutical scientist and like PhDs and stuff, a lot to live up to. And I kind of latched on to the motorsports side of his life, which was really just a hobby and he wasn't making any money on, was like, I'm going to do this with my life and I'm going to make it and whatever. Maybe a little misguided, but I mean, I've stuck with it. And so, I mean, here I am, I'm doing okay, I guess. But anyway, so that's kind of where I came from. And I had a long history with Thunderhill Raceway. My dad was one of the guys that he was with SCCA when they decided, screw Sonoma and Laguna, we want to build our own track.
Really?
And and David Vodden, the CEO of Thunderhill, who is retiring this year, by the way. Bye, David. Love you.
That's the history of Thunderhill. Is they were like,
yeah, Thunderhill is for racers by racers. It's in the late '80s. So little Thunderhill history in the late '80s. SCCA around here there was Sonoma, Sears Point, and Laguna Seca. And the SCCA wasn't getting dates they wanted. Various other reasons. They were like, we're going to build our own track. And so
I like it.
And so my dad and I mean, credit where credit's due. A bunch of other important people in the club were part of that. Specifically, actually, a guy named John Norman, who we work with a bunch. He's an Alpha guy. Has been racing cars for like 55 years now. Wild, really cool dude. Anyway, so they met David Vodden. He was running Baylands Raceway. And Baylands was closing and they knew he was going to be on the market for a job. And so they hired him to build Thunderhill and make it happen.
Whoa.
So anyway, and actually the first site for Thunderhill was somewhere in the valley. It was like Merced or Fresno or something.
Way.
Yeah, they were, and this is like a little bit of like behind, politics and stuff of racetrack administration. But the deal was I think they had found a property and they were going through the motions to get this property. And the EPA in those days, Sierra Club, got wind of it and were like, no way, and totally put the kibosh on the whole thing. So when they found the property at Thunderhill, they found, do you remember Ray Mudd, the guy who worked at Thunderhill? He was one of the managers there and he would always go by and go, he was like good old boy. Yeah, Ray Mudd, awesome dude. His dad, Dick Mudd, was on the board of supervisors. I know, right?
I'm trying.
We're old now. We can say stuff like that and not laugh about it.
I'm trying to be mature. I'm a mature man.
Yeah, so Dick Mudd was on the board of supervisors and bought into the whole idea of Thunderhill being there, of a racetrack being there. And basically, kind of long story short, helped them make it happen and broke ground, bought the property and everything before the people who could complained, and they did it. And that's why Thunderhill is what it is. It thanks in large part to the Mudd family. So anyway, so Thunderhill opened in 93. I would have been 8. And so like, now I love telling this story. My Thunderhill origin story is around when it opened in 93. I would go up there with my dad for SCCA races and like.
What did he drive?
See, that's the thing. My dad, like I said, he was an official. Like he was a steward. He was working.
Okay.
So and so I'm a kid. I just want to drive anything. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, my dad's friends with the guy who runs this place. I didn't really know the full story at that point, but I was like, is there anything here I could drive? They handle these golf carts, and the boss would say, okay, you can drive a golf cart around if you take one of these 55-gallon plastic drums and strap it to the back and fill it with water and go up and down the paddock and water the trees. If you think about Thunderhill, when you come in, there's that long line of trees all the way from the highway, right? Yeah. So those are just little saplings. This is like right when it all, they were just planted. They didn't have irrigation. So that was, like when I was 8 years old, I went up and down the paddock and watered the trees at Thunderhill. And for me, it was like an excuse to drive. And
that's cool.
Get into shenanigans and stuff. Anyway, and so it's cool to like see those, they're real trees now. And I'm like, I grew up with those trees. Anyway, it's cool. So then drifting, like it's really funny. There's a few drifters who know of Thunderdrift who will remember Slidewise drifting. Did you ever hear about Slidewise? I don't blame you if you did.
I think it was before my time.
It was when I absolutely first started, and the deal was, so I was a mechanic, going to school, going to auto tech school, getting my ASC certifications, all that stuff, and then and working at Thunderhill as a flagger and like all the ground level positions. I was a gate guard. I was all the other stuff. This is, fast forward to when I'm like 18. And I'm working at this guy's shop, and he said, I have this great idea. There's this thing called drifting. And I'm like, what's that? I have no idea.
Really?
I was not really aware of it. This is like 03, 04, around there. And actually, you know what? There is an event a million years ago. I think Don On put it on. I think it was a Bob's Donuts grip and slip. It might have been another event, but it was around like 02, 03, and I was a flagger at Thunderhill, and I flagged that event.
And what is this?
Yeah, and I was like, whoa. And I met Calvin Wan in the paddock afterwards, because like the two really remarkable guys at that event, it was Calvin and Todd Ho. And so it was like Calvin was in.
Shout out both of them, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the super OGs. And Alex Pfeiffer falls into this story too.
Yes.
So yeah, like Calvin was driving an FD, or no, I think it was like, Calvin was driving a S14, and Todd was driving his FC before it was green and before it had an LS1, like stock FC.
Yeah.
And I talked to Calvin afterwards, and he gave me a copy of his book, the Calvin Wan Drifting Performance Handbook.
I've never heard of this.
You don't know about this?
Yeah.
Everyone, look it up, and shout out to Antonio and Calvin. Yeah, go look. It's the Motorsports Press or something. They do all these like so-and-so guide to such and such. It's the Calvin Wan Drifting Performance Handbook, and it's full of a ton of good information and photography by Antonio Albandia of Motor Mavens, Speed Hunters, etc. Rad dude. So yeah, look that up. It's still for sale. And somehow over the years, I've never gotten Calvin to sign my copy. I really need to, but I still have it. And anyway, so like I had heard of drifting once, or like I saw it at that event. So my boss at this shop is like, I've got this great idea. Drifting is so cool. We should run drift events because I have this idea and you know how to run events. And I was like, I know how to run events? Really? So the backstory to that was I had the year before and the year before that, basically I had put on 2 autocross events at Thunderhill. Both were terrible failures, like really unsuccessful. It was really I did a really poor job of it. But I mean, it's true. I had some idea of like how an event should be run because of growing up, with my dad being an event official. Anyway, so he's like, we should do this do these drift events. And I was like, I'm not one to turn down a good time. And so we did. So that was Slidewise drifting. And that lasted for about 6 months or so. And then, man, to be perfectly honest, I don't even remember exactly. The money wasn't right. Like the agreement between me and him and like who was doing the majority of the work wasn't right. And we stopped doing it. And
that happens.
And a little while after that, I just went back and did it myself. I was just like,
you're like Thunderhill drifting, Thunder drifts.
Yeah. Well, and so the name Thunderdrift came from the fact that, so at the time I was working at Thunderhill. I was a flagger. I was, all these other things. So I was actually putting on events on behalf of the track. So I was like the track's in-house drift event. So that's why it was called Thunderdrift with the track. And like later on, I was renting it for myself and all that stuff. But it was, the reason I did that, it was a really advantageous deal for a guy starting out. It was a share deal. So like instead of paying to rent and then
bringing people,
either getting, making a profit or losing your ass, I would get a date and I would collect the entries and I would split it with the track.
Oh, that's cool.
It was kind of like a no loss.
And that was great for drifting because there weren't a lot of people doing it yet.
16 events a year was standard from 2006 to 2015.
And those were pretty much the only consistent drift events in Northern California for.
So yeah, I had a monopoly from 2007 until 2010. And that was
Sonoma
because it was when Altamont closed. And I mean, and you know what, I forget how big this podcast is. Like, it's like just you and me talking. There's people who are hearing this who are going to be like, he wasn't the only events. It's true. Felix and Mark from Fat Lace ran a couple of events, but they weren't like regularly occurring.
Yeah.
They were.
I never made it to one of those. They did like the San Jose or
they looked fun. They were all parking lot events,
so
I'm trying to remember exactly.
They did. It was like Great America's, the like theme parks parking lot.
That's what it was. I think it was Great America. Anyway, they looked like a bunch of fun, but yeah. And so after Altamont shut down, and the last event there, by the way, was also there. It was a Fat Lace event. It was the drift battle. It was May of 07 was the very last one, and so from then until Sonoma Drift started, I was kind of the only game. So it was like captive audience. It's not, maybe not the best events. I mean, I thought they were good events, but it was kind of the only game in town.
Yeah, I mean, you licensed quite a few of my friends for Formula Drift, and
so that was like late 2009. I met the guys from FD and went to some meetings, and I actually went down to Irwindale that year and met all the other Pro-Am affiliates. Met Nick Dyson, met Charlie from Just Drift, and Edgar from Drift Indy, and all those guys. And anyway, and I did Pro-Am 2010, 11, and 12.
Yeah.
So
what was I mean, the early days of Thunder Drift, they were just like practice days, fun stuff. Like what led you to want to start licensing drivers for Formula Drift?
I mean, wow, actually I don't know. Because we would do
Super Am.
Yeah, we did. Well, I did Super Am. We started Super Am afterwards. I guess, wrong way to put it. I always did a skid pad comp series.
Yeah.
And like when Pro-Am started, I renamed the comp series to Super Am because it was like Pro-Am.
Okay, yeah, I did. I was around in the Super Am days. I did Super Am.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I mean, that was like all of the events, both Pro-Am and Super Am, were so much fun. I mean, they were just, it was tremendously good times and good people coming together to make it happen too. I don't know if anybody remembers him now. Scott Sherrod, Rob Sherrod's. You know Rob Sherrod, right?
Yeah. And
Scott, actually, you know what?
I went to Scott's wedding.
That's right. And Scott was building his car with the 20-inch wheels in those days.
Yeah, it was single cam KAT.
Right. His perpetual project.
Yeah, he had those like, they're like the Porsche GT3 SSR like giant 19 all around, and like literally him and his brother literally had to like cut so much of the chassis out and like reinforce it just for them to be able to turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you remember his windshield banner that went all the way across the windshield and said, "I can't see"?
Man, the days of like clever windshield banners.
The Hydra Daughters days. Yeah. I think, by the way, Colin Frost was the first one to do that, wasn't he?
I don't know.
I think he was. I think that's what he started that off, old Frosty.
Yeah.
But yeah, Scott Sherrod and then Rye Moore later on.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those dudes, like, I mean,
now
tremendous
part of
thanks.
Mattfield's team.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, like, huge thanks goes to my judges who came out and helped, but also they like didn't. I mean, they all had a tremendous amount of hustle and like would help make the event go.
Yeah.
But like Rye and Scott were just my like number two dudes. The whole, like, when they were with me, like me and Scott used to show up together at 5:45 in the morning and set up the course with the cones and all that. Like it was. So anyway, I had really good help and really awesome people around.
I think doing Pro-Am on the big track at Thunderhill was something that set in motion NorCal to have kind of like a bit more high speed style and being able to do like those like driving Thunderhill East.
Yeah.
Like I remember watching videos of like dudes doing Thunderhill East with like 100 PSI on their rear tires with like KAs, trying to link like
Julian and Ryan
and
used to those guys with Ryan they both used to run 120 PSI and man. I remember that too, that there was kind of an era of drivers that emerged from running those kind of events, and it definitely I feel like it was regarded by people around that the guys who ran on the big track at Thunderhill had a lot of experience doing that kind of high speed stuff. That was super cool. It was really great to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's where Ryan and Julian met and Animal Style was founded. So I can appreciate
good times.
Your efforts for that also.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we used to do one skid pad event a month, and we do about 4 full track events a year. And then Pro-Am kind of was a different thing. Like we do a few more in that case, because we always did our fun ones too, like the mustache drift or the banana drift, or I mean, whatever
Yeah.
all the silly fun stuff we did.
Yeah. I feel like NorCal hasn't had anything like that in a while. Like I see other like drifting communities kind of like do wild stuff like that, but
Yeah.
NorCal's been pretty
Oh.
like, I don't know, just events and
Somebody should bring it back. You know what? I mean, actually, I kind of feel bad a little bit. I didn't do more research before doing this interview. Like, is Lucky still doing Good Luck League? Is
Yep.
that still okay?
Yeah.
Cool, right? Because of all of the, I'm sorry to everybody else who's doing events, but like of the latest iteration of people who are running drift events, those are kind of my favorients. I really like.
Oh yeah, I'm
always liked
biased
Lucky
also.
Yeah.
You
work with them. You judge it. You're judging or something like that.
I've been emceeing comps or
nice
competing or
yeah.
judging or whatever. I don't know. I like to help out Lucky. He's a good guy. He really cares about the community.
Yeah.
He like wants to like have cool driving and momentum based driving and really like pushes people with like the layouts and stuff. So yeah, can't be mad at that. It's crazy to me that the skid pad is rented out like every single day for the year. Like, is that not like insane?
No, it really is. Well, and so I was just up there 2 weekends ago. Last weekend was my CSRG vintage racing season finale, and I actually hadn't been to Thunder Hill since the same event a year before. So it'd been a year since I was up there, and I was not familiar with all the new garages and everything.
Yeah, they built
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, and the small skid pad getting smaller, but like still looks like there's plenty of room there for.
They're also building another skid pad on the other side of the large skid pad.
Wow.
So it's like,
okay. Yeah. It's like constant development. I mean, that's always been Thunder Hill's thing. It's just always expanding and always another thing, on the list of things to do. Drag strip, maybe.
That'd be
someday.
cool. Yeah. I want to see what the drift car does.
Third road course. Never know.
For it. Definitely for it. They need, if they built like a little short drift course.
Yeah. That's, you know what? When I was there, when I was on the management staff, dude, I pushed hard for a go-kart track. I was like, the skid pads are really cool, but having the pavement go somewhere that you have to go, like, because I can tell you in my
like, why wouldn't they just drift the big track? And you're like,
it's the cost of renting it and the availability of dates and that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Is really what it starts to come down to. Is that nobody's willing to lose that much money.
We only get to drift like east or west like a couple times a year.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool that people are still doing it like that occasionally, though. Who's doing it? Speed SF still do a drift event on occasion?
Julian does the
New Year's deal
every year.
Sweet,
where we drive east, and it's and
that's a perfect time too, because like the track, it's a good time to be there because like not everybody is beating down the door for New Year's Day or so like you can get in. That was my whole thing when I was running Thunderdrift is that especially starting off with that share deal, I had to take the bottom of the barrel. Like I had to take days where I was like, look, you guys stand to make nothing if you have no event. So let me do an event.
Yeah.
And you can at least get something.
A couple $100.
Yeah, right. And anyway, no. So I mean, I really, massively thankful to Thunder Hill for doing that for me in the early days.
They've been very good to drifting.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate to have Thunder Hill.
Big thanks to Anthony for that. Do you know Anthony McHugh?
No.
He runs. Oh, I'm sorry, Anthony. You'll probably watch this. Drift Apocalypse. Those are his events, and he either was already running events or started running events like in very close succession to when he started as a manager at Thunder Hill. And so like he has been the big advocate, like he's at every Friday.
He's still there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I know who you're talking about then.
He's one of the head managers. Yeah,
I know him.
But I mean, you think about like the way Thunder Hill runs and like every Friday at their manager meeting or whatever, like he's the one who's the loud voice in favor of drifting. Yeah, for sure. Big
and everybody
time, so.
And all the flaggers are like,
yeah, the turn 11 flaggers like, I can't hear the calls of these stupid drifters. Yeah. You know what? No, as far as the skid pads get farther from the track, that becomes less of an issue, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
man, it's almost hard to tell now with the new garages in place. You used to be able to tell by the water grates on the small skid pad, but like when I started running events there, I want to say it was like 150 feet wide or something. I mean, it was like barely second gear. Yeah. I mean, like people don't get how small it was. There was my best example was there's a guy named Herb who I think is still around. He drove a car with an S15 front way back, and he did a big drift around the top sweeper and went off the track, and he hit one of those concrete grates and like jumped off of it. It was spectacular. But I mean, the thing is, you look at it now, and those grates are like not even in the center. You know, like the pad has been widened so many times since then. And so, I mean, the point is like if you can picture it, the pad was so narrow that those grates were 15 feet off in the dirt, you know, and he was the only guy to ever hit it. So yeah, anyway, we did a lot with a little back then. Oh man. And sorry to everybody who was, who hit the fence that used to be there before we had a K-wall. The deal was that like if you run into the fence, then you have to like pay a ton of money to have it fixed. So it was like dangling Fabergé eggs, you know. Like if you hit this, you have to pay all this money, you know. I felt really bad about it. Very few people hit it, but the ones who did, like I had to charge them. Like I'm not going to pay for this shit. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, running events
can be thankless sometimes.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like your efforts allowed people to have somewhere to drift and progress, and they were sick. And it was like, it was an important, time. Beyond Thunder Drift, there was also Lifeblasters, which was you getting to travel with the circus that was FD in the early days when FD was...
I mean, real thanks goes to the Kado family.
Yeah,
because I wasn't traveling for Lifeblasters. I was traveling to be Kado's spotter, and I was getting to do Lifeblasters like as a luxury. So yeah, really, Edwin, Don, and the rest of the Kado family. Yeah. I love you guys deep down. Yeah, they're amazing people. Yep. And so anyway, yeah.
And Ryan's back.
Oh, really? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I've just seen him and Edwin doing RC car stuff.
No, he brought the Corolla out.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's great.
Did his first event in like 6-7 years.
I know his kids are like grown up now, you know, done with college and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, no, that's all. Yeah. I mean, I remember his 21st birthday. Little kiddo.
Yeah. I'm sure it was a blast.
That's when he actually, you know what? I shouldn't go into that. Never mind.
You tease.
Yeah, but no, I totally remember that. We were in Seattle. That might have been the year that he was running a VK with a turbo, and it was like
didn't they have like the turbo like the back of the car or something? It was like
and plumbed with ABS plastic from Home Depot.
Yeah.
Like that was rad, dude. The guys built that on the road on the way to Seattle because because they had made an aluminum one that was like really poorly, like I don't know if it was like a flux core for aluminum or something. It was like really nasty aluminum setup, and they were testing it, and whatever marginal amount of boost he was running like split the thing open.
Oh man!
And so they were like, like Schedule 40 ABS, black plastic water pipe is supposed to be good to like several hundred PSI. Why shouldn't this work for boost, And so they built a plenum out of PVC. I
think I saw it.
This should be like on, things where like the engineer pulls up a photo. I have a photo of it somewhere. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Some sick shit back then. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? How long did you get to like travel? Cause like it was like you and Shreve and
that's the thing though. I got to say, like Shreve and Joe and Bohan and all those dudes were like there on their own merits. I was the one who was getting a free ride as like working for a team. Yeah. Bohan was shooting. I think Conrad was kind of paying his way. He was Conrad's official photographer, and so then he would also do Lifeblasters stuff. And and then Joe and Shreve were there shooting for like big publications. They were shooting for. Were they Motor Mavens back then, or Speed Hunters, or I don't know, or they were just Tandem of Die because they're like the raddest dudes ever. I mean,
yeah. What was it like? I don't know. How long did you do that for?
2010-ish. Was it that early? 2010 or 11 until like 2014, around there. Something like that. Right around there.
Yeah. Can you like believe the difference in like what FD is now and what it was then? Like,
yeah. I mean, it is. It's pretty wild. Yeah. I remember And I still watch, you know, it's weird. Like I'm varying levels of completely out of touch with everything. Like I still watch FD live streams every now and then, which I guess like if you think about like grassroots drifting and on the spectrum of things, that makes me like kind of the lamest person ever. Is like I don't go to amateur events, but then I like watch FD. Like
whatever. I mean,
it's easy to consume. The live stream is just there.
Yeah.
Live stream, you know, do a video of Good Luck League. I way rather watch that.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out. we gotta get on the Thunderhill Wi-Fi and log jam that.
You know what I love though? I don't know. I mean, like this is you know, also polarizing figure. Some people love this, some people will hate this. Little name drop here, but I am so tickled by the fact that I watch the FD live streams and Jared says something funny and I text him and he texts me like right back. Nice. I just think that's like the coolest shit. I feel like a little schoolgirl every time he texts me. And I like run downstairs and tell my wife, I'm like, Jared Diaz text me back. Oh my God. Like, yeah. Anyway, I think that's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice I mean, people. You're around in like the kind of like when it was more of like a I don't know how it is. I was never like in FD or I'm not around it now, but it seemed like back then it was a lot more of a kind of like wild time, more fun.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. See, I remember like when I first got, I kind of, towards the end, I kind of missed when I first got in, because when I first got in, it was like, do you remember Ross Petty? Do you remember Garage Bozo?
Yeah.
Like that shit was sick.
Yeah.
Shout out to Frank, Ross, the whole crew, Bretta J. Love that guy. Anyway, yeah, like that. Oh man. And I asked Frank for a Garage Bozo shirt. Remember the Rasta colored one? Mm-hmm. I asked him for one of those for like 2 years because like he was always out of them. And I was like, Frank, dude, please let me get one of those shirts. And I want to say that when I finally got my hands on one, I got him to give me 2 so that I could like be sure to hang on to them. And you know what? Like I have a huge collection of old t-shirts and stuff. I don't have one of those anymore. That one like left almost immediately. It was like you're out, you know, staying at a hotel with 10 dudes in the hotel and like you get home and do your laundry and it's just gone.
Yeah. That's happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those like traveling mistakes, man.
Yeah. It happens.
Losing precious heirlooms. I think I lost a camera lens in a hotel room one time during a like FD round that I went to just go spectate.
Damn.
Because there was
a whole lens?
6 of us staying in a room and there's just like stuff everywhere as you leave and yeah.
G'day, mate. We're here to sell you tires from Tire Streets. And we're keen to sell you the best tires on the road, eh? I'm fucking related to Steve Irwin. Anyway, okay, I'm just kidding. Hey guys, click the link below. Check out Tire Streets. It's in the description of the podcast or the YouTube or whatever. It's also a link in the bio on the Instagram. Run it up. Buy yourself some tires. If they're having a sale and you click that link, we get credit. And we love credit. That's how we pay for drifting. And I keep making that joke. And I don't care because it's funny. Anyway, click it. And if there is no sale, Goodest 651, 20% off. Accelera 651s. Goodest 15% off everything else on the site. Get yourself some freaking mud terrains for your PT Cruiser limo that you're building or whatever you're doing to be popular on YouTube. I don't know. Anyway, happy to have you guys here. Happy to have you guys support Tire Streets. We love Tire Streets. You guys love the Goodest Cast. They help us. We help you. Tire Streets, freaking run it up, dude.
So just briefly to kind of go over the timeline of drifting in NorCal as I know it, and specifically drifting at Thunderhill.
Okay.
As I understand it, Alex Pfeiffer held the first drift event at Thunderhill, which I think based on the year might have been the first drift event like in California, which maybe would have made it the first drift event in the US. I have a hard time saying that like with confidence, but because like when was D1 Driver Search at Irwindale? That isn't that like kind of commonly regarded as being the first.
I think it's like the first like big one.
Yeah.
And then they had like the.
So like around 2000, Alex Pfeiffer held a full track drift at Thunderhill, and then around 2002, Don On, owner of Bob's Donuts in San Francisco, shout out Bob's Donuts. I flipped many a donut late night there.
Yeah.
Used to run an event called Grip and Slip, and it was a track day / drift day thing. And and he did that. He did that annually at Thunder Hill for a couple of years, and he also would run Black Friday at Button Willow. That Black Friday Speed SF event started out a million years ago as a Bob's Donuts grip and slip event, and then and so that kind of covers from 02, 03 on until, and then my first event was in 06, and then a lot has happened since I stopped doing it in 2015. I mean, so many different like cool skid pad events and different series. And
I heard about an event they had at at Candlestick Park at one point.
Yeah. Okay. That's another. Okay. Yes. Sloaney. Have you ever heard of Sloaney?
No.
Shout out Lee Sloan. I have no idea if he'll watch this. He's another exceptionally cool dude. Way back in the day, I'm sorry if I butcher this because I wasn't at these events. Like I was. Yeah. This is a little before me. He was running a drift event called Drift Day, and I know Drift Day was a big thing in SoCal. Yeah. And so it was some kind of like Drift Day NorCal faction. I don't actually know what the connection is. Like you'll have to do.
Drift Day was like the 4AG Club 4AG guys.
Yeah. So Sloaney was one of those dudes. Way back. He's the guy. God, you might have seen like a GIF, like a shoddy GIF or a really low res video of him jumping his Hachi at Sonoma Raceway off of the berm, at turn 7 where there's like that sharp peninsula berm. Like he hits that and goes bing in a Hachi. Insert clip, editor.
Yeah. Making me work.
Anyway, yeah. So Sloaney, I'm pretty sure he was responsible for the events at Candlestick, which were like super early on. I don't actually know what year, but if I had to guess, I want to say around 03, 04, that kind of range. And then of course, I mean, there's all the one-off events. There was, Drift Battle was a series at Altamont. Yeah. And I think Don did a couple of Bob's Donuts events at Altamont too. And then, so then later years, Fat Lace did their kind of one-off events. There was always drifting at the Hot Import Nights car show. They would set up like this tiny K-wall square, and all the like good dudes like Calvin Wan used to drift those. And it was this tiny little square of K-wall. Demos and... Yeah, it was rad. I emceed one of those actually. It was really, really fun. That might have been my first time on the mic at a drift event. Anyway, let's see. Oh, I was going to say Motoring J-Style. J-Style, legendary. That was actually run by the Swig family, who I work with, a bunch in selling classic cars and stuff. They're all over that world now. Their family, their dad, they owned dealerships. And Howard Swig is one of the top guys at BAT, and his brother is at Broad Arrow Auctions, I think, most recently, but was,
Dave.
Right before that was he was at RM Sotheby's, I think. And anyway, so they're...
Which is your world.
Yeah, which is like this kind of classic car world. I mean, hey, we're doing this now. Like, we're sitting in front of all these cool cars. We haven't said anything about it.
Yep. I'm sitting in front of a Gullwing.
Whatever.
No big deal.
A Ferrari Lusso in a Mercedes Gullwing.
I do not belong in this building.
It's cool, man.
Take me out with the trash. Yes, I actually know the Swig brothers through my friend Mac, who's a Hachi guy.
Okay, yeah.
Who helped run Motoring J-Style, and he's actually the guy who taught me how to clutch kick on Live for Speed.
Nice.
So like it's this small world of stuff, and then now our friend Darius works at Bring a Trailer, and he works with Howard. So it's just this like drifting
and photog people we've known, like Trevor. I'm sorry, Trevor. I'm forgetting your last name. Okay. Trevor was working at BAT a bunch. I mean, it's like living in the Bay Area. It's like GoPro. It's like Tesla. It's like how many people do you know who have worked like at one point or another? All of our friends went to work at GoPro. Then they all went to work at Tesla, and then like lots of people work at BAT now. But so that's totally in that world. But Motoring J-Style. It happened 2 years. What was it? 07 and 08.
Yeah.
I still have 2 of the license plate placards. One I've used and like is all sun bleached and stuff from being on cars, and one is like pristine, never been used. And anyway, that was super fun. That was I think that Motoring J-Style 08 was the only drift event I have ever paid an entry as a driver, entered as a driver, and like competed in a comp ever.
Did you have the S14 then?
That was in my maroon S13 that Mondo Hernandez, Combo Mondo, shout out Combo Mondo, holler, run it, chief. He he graffitied it live at the event. Like
Sick.
he spent like 14 hours doing both sides like the day before, and I couldn't take it any longer with how long it was taking, and so he was coming to the event anyway, and he did the hood at the event like live. It was really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
And I mean, it was like a pretty stock S13. Otherwise, it was 2008. You know,
Yeah. Now the car is worth a bunch of money.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think it got. I mean, it had a hard life. Oh, dude, totally outside of drifting. My story of buying that car was great. I bought it from these dudes in Stockton. I lived in Paradise, and I was working for that guy's shop when we started running drift events. And I was like, well, if I'm going to like be hosting these events, I should have a car that's rear wheel drive at least. Full disclosure, I grew up as a Honda guy. I had a CRX. Like I was a front wheel drive guy, and I had tons of fun. But granted, I had an ex-girlfriend with a Miata, and I taught her how to drive stick in it. That was the first time I ever did donuts in a rear-wheel drive car. And I was like, I remember going through a turn kind of fast and hitting the gas and feeling it slip a little bit and going, wait a minute, Miata's a rear-wheel drive? And so then we went out to the boat loading dock, a big empty parking lot, and I just stopped and I turned the wheel all the way to the left and I revved it up and dumped the clutch and just whipped so many donuts. I was like, this is the best thing ever. Oh my God. So, and I always wished that my CRX was rear wheel drive. I had all these stupid plans about how to make it rear wheel drive. And I was like, that is glad that I never did that.
Yep.
But yeah, so I got this S13. I bought it from these dudes in Stockton off like Craigslist or something. And and it was like the engine was disassembled. The head was off of it. And they were like, it needs a new top block. And I was like,
what's that?
You mean cylinder head? And they go, no, top block. Like the dude was very adamant. He was like, no, it needs a top block. And I went, why is the top block off? And he was like, because it needs a new one. Duh. It was very, very vague. So I went down there. He sent me some pictures too. It had one piston replaced. Like those of you who build motors know, like you don't just replace one piston, like you replace all of them, or you do things in sets. It's like if you don't change one tire on your car, you change a pair at least. Like you want them to be even. Anyway, so I go down there and I look, and I picked also a huge mistake. I pick it up after dark. I've got this flashlight. I look at it, and cylinder number 4 has the new piston in it, and the piston is down. And in the cylinder wall, I just see aluminum transfer. It's like the block looks like shit. And I just remember looking at him and going, it's going to smoke a little bit, huh? He's telling me that it's ready to put back together. Basically, he's like, I put a new piston in it. It has a new top block or whatever he had said needs a new top block or whatever. And he's like, just slap it together and it's good to go. And I was like, good to go, huh? Like it's going to smoke a little bit, right? And he's like, new top block. Okay, man. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but I paid the man, and I had borrowed a tow dolly. It was the first and only time I will ever use a tow dolly.
Oh, those are sketchy.
Yeah, not cool at all. I borrowed it from the owner of from this guy who ran the shop, and he told me, air down the tires on the way down. Otherwise, the thing will bounce the whole time. He's like, air the tires down to like 15 pounds so that they soak up the bouncing. And so, of course, what happened is I go down there and I get the car and load it. I go, oh, shit, I needed to add the air to the tires. So I've got the car loaded and I've only got 15 pounds in the tires. And I'm like, shit, okay. So I go into a parking lot of a gas station and I pull out the air pump and I fill up the one side. I go to fill up the other side and it's like, not quite long enough, right? So I'm like, shit, I gotta turn this thing around. And I go, well, I've got this car and this trailer whole setup thing here. I wasn't very experienced at towing these days. And I was like, I know I've got to make a wide turn. Like whatever I do, I got to make a wide turn. Well, I didn't make a wide enough turn. And the car, like if these are the wheels of the tow dolly, they turned and the front wheels of the car did not. And it basically jumped off like one of the front wheels went over the front of the dolly. Needless to say, it was a fucked situation. It was bad. I had to call AAA. I had AAA, thank God. As I was like, please help me unscrew this horrible situation. And the AAA guy came and he was like, I can lift up your car and put it back on the tow dolly and you can go home with it. Or he's like, you have the 200-mile or whatever, so I'll just take it all the way to your house if you want, because tow dollies suck, dude. And I was like, yeah, I totally agree. I really would not like to use this tow dolly any further. And so anyway, yeah, he brought my car, to my house for me. It was super chill.
Threw a new top block on it and you're out of there.
I threw a new top block on. Yeah, anyway, I ended up building the motor on that car over the course of a year. So it was a really long time. And a friend of mine who owned a head porting business taught me how to port heads. Sick. And that was my tester motor. And I got to learn how to port heads. And it was really sad. Shout out to Jim Putney, my machinist. If you need a 3S GTE or a 22 RE, he makes the baddest ass ones on the planet. I think his shop is just called Putney Engineering or something, Putney. Anyway, I'm so sorry for him. He cut my valve seats like 5 times because I kept nicking them when I pro tip, if you're going to port your head, have your valves cut after you're done porting. And then you don't have to worry about this shit. But I had them already cut. And so I'm porting the head and having to be really careful not to nick the valve seat. And I wasn't careful enough. And I, nicked the valve seats numerous times. So don't do that.
Did it smoke?
No, but that was because I did the bottom end too. I mean, I had to do the whole, I can't remember what I was waiting for. I spent a lot of time on that engine because I had nothing better to do. And I took my carbide head porting tool and went on the underside of the block and smoothed out all the ribs and ground away all the leftover casting sand from the factory. And that motor had more work into it probably than any other completely stock KA 24DE in history. And by the way, when I put it all together, it made less power than stock because the head was so warped that in order to get it straightened out, I had to cut it cut 60 thousandths off of it. It was something stupid, where I should have thrown it away and gotten another head. Yeah, so it was a thing about, this is probably getting way too nerdy for this situation, but it was a thing about as the deck height comes down, your valve timing, your cam timing changes, and you need to have adjustable cam gears to cancel that out. I didn't, and so basically so
it was just a very retarded motor.
So yeah, sorry, not PC, but yeah, it was very. So the deal was that as my deck height went down and my compression went up, and I'm like, it's going to have more power because of the higher compression. Yeah. But then my cam timing was also retarding at the same time. Yeah. And so it was like a battle between good and evil going on there.
It's probably really safe though.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know. The poor guy who bought that from me, his name is Andrew, lived in San Francisco, and my hat's coming off a lot of times this evening, but my hat is off to him for driving that thing around on the street in the city like that. I lived in the Chico area, so I mean, nobody cared up there. I was driving around this graffitied car, but he got hassled a lot for that car.
Oh, he drove it graffitied.
Yeah, he drove it around. And he lived in a suburb or something like that, but he drove it around graffitied up for quite some time, and he took quite a few lumps as a result of that. Got hassled by the cops many times, and until he painted it, to use Thomas's term, I think he painted it estrogen blue pearl. But anyway, no idea where that car is now, but yeah, good times.
Somewhere.
It was before the days of VinWiki when you can track those sort of things.
What's VinWiki?
Log your car in VinWiki.
What's that?
I don't want to promote it too much because it's they do kind of it's not a podcast, but they do it like a talking video show. So I mean, don't watch VinWiki, watch Goodest cast.
Yeah, exactly.
But that being said, now it's an app that tracks VIN numbers. It's really cool. So you can punch in a VIN number, and anytime it's all user supported. So anytime another person has logged that VIN number somewhere, it pops up.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's cool. It's kind of cool.
Could you do that for cars that are non-op turned?
If it's got a VIN number.
Yeah.
I mean, if it has a VIN number. But I mean, the thing is, like,
throwing the M3 on VinWiki.
I was gonna say, I mean, you take your car for instance, like
Yeah.
your car, if you punch it in, probably not gonna have any history, and so
No.
your post will be the first post, and then it's just gonna have the history that you add to it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of a thing that like years from now will be really, really cool, but right now it's kind of like still getting started. Like the things that might be interesting to you on there are just going to be things that you create. So,
Yeah.
you know, I kind of have fun. Like, I don't do anything super current, but I go back through my history of working here and post a bunch of cars here and there. Like I post a bunch of Ferraris and like
That's cool.
stuff like that's kind of fun. But yeah.
Do you think? Okay, so let's move on to this vintage race car, vintage car world that you're in now. Do you think that there will ever be a time in the future where drift cars will end up in something like this, like a Mahon spec, like burst car from, you know,
Dude, that would be so cool.
2002.
Like a nostalgia drift event.
right?
I
Or
would love
yeah,
that.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
a drifting historics.
Yeah. Well,
Bring
I mean,
out the Rasta Camo Infowars Ross Petty S15.
that would be so sick. I mean, I think you're going to like this answer a little bit. I mean, first of all, like, dude, yeah, a lot of cars that as drifters we're into are vintage for sure, like legitimately vintage. The vintage club. So I work for CSRG. I'm the race director for CSRG. I have been since 2015,
Which is
16.
a vintage racing
Yeah,
series.
we are. It's Classic Sports Racing Group, and we are the second oldest vintage racing series in California. The club has been around since 1968, and we have 4 events a year at Thunderhill, Sonoma, and Laguna. So, what was I talking about? Drift cars and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like I kind of have this thing with my vintage club where like I'm really trying to kind of get them to accept some newer cars for the sake of the future of the club. But the thing is, a fact that I bring up with them that I think is applicable here too is that when CSRG started in 1968, they were a vintage racing organization, and the year was 1968. So the cars that they were driving and they were calling vintage,
We're like 10 years old.
8 years old. Yeah. And so, I mean, like, I'm not asking for us to have 2015, 16 cars and call them
You're
vintage.
like, I don't need a 01
But-
Camaro in here.
Yeah, but I would love to have a 30-year rolling rule in vintage racing. And so that would mean that
Yeah,
like
vintage
NA
doesn't mean only
Miatas-
the 70s.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
like NA Miatas, E30s, first gen, second gen FCs, FBs, RX7s would be eligible.
I think, come on, like an FB RX-7 track car,
Dude, yeah.
is so vintage.
Well,
at this
and
point.
the most important thing is that for guys like me, like I'm not quite 40, that's what I'm into. Like the vintage cars that excite me the most are the ones that were current when I first learned about club racing. And so for
Right.
me, that was like 510s, first gen RX7s,
Yes.
that kind of stuff, you know? And anyway, and so yeah, I think there's definitely a case for there to be a rule like that in vintage racing. And so yeah, a lot of the drift cars, like their time is coming. But so like a little bit of a caveat, like with vintage racing, it's primarily club racing cars that are, it's vintage club racing cars. So the cars all have to be prepped to an old SCCA rule book, basically.
Oh, interesting.
And so like there kind of isn't a place for drift cars in particular, and like CSRG doesn't hold drifting events, so
Yeah,
it kind
they
of
never
wouldn't,
would. Yeah.
But I mean, that being said, I think there would be totally a case at some point to have like a nostalgia drift event where it was just,
Yeah.
But then also like, how many of those cars still exist?
Yeah, they all
Because
get
a lot
totaled.
of those, yeah, well, that or they get rebuilt into something else because they're not like drifting is such a fluid thing where
I
like
think it's still so new that people aren't really like being like, okay, this car's lived its life. I'm gonna go put it
right.
in a stable. And,
Yeah, exactly.
but people are doing that. Like the
Yeah.
guys buying up all the like top secret cars and all that other stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
that's cool.
I don't know what that
that's good.
dude's
They
name is,
should.
but they're just living in a warehouse now. And
Yeah.
they're like these like vintage cars from Option Video, and they're nostalgic for the people who saw them, 20 years ago and was like,
yeah.
that's the coolest car I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they're only going to be worth more and more money. And I think Japan maybe does a better job of like saving them and storing them.
Yeah.
I think here we probably reuse stuff pretty often.
Well, but I mean, think about like what chassis was relevant in 2010 that is no longer relevant at all. Like maybe the Corolla, but Corollas are still around. But I mean, really, like S13s, for example, continue to be recycled and rebuilt into whatever the current iteration of a good drift car is.
Yeah.
And, you know, the body kit is refreshed and whatever. The other part of it is that drifting is so hard on cars that, you know, a lot of times a car
club racing, you can go do like a season and then park a car.
Yeah. Like in drifting, a car doesn't survive in its current iteration for that long.
Right.
Sadly, you know, I mean,
maybe we need to start like being like, all right, if you reshell, like save the old one, you know?
That might be an idea, I guess. Yeah, maybe.
Drifters don't have enough money to do that. Let's
that's
be
part
real.
of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I think the idea of vintage and drifting together is super cool. The other thing is that like there is JDM stuff in vintage racing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get shit about saying JDM when it's like the car was sold in the US?
No,
it's
no
not
one
actually.
cares.
I got ripped on one of Xander's Bring a Trailer auctions.
Really?
Xander runs Wolfrain Motors. They import cars, and you know, and so like most of his cars are imported from Japan. Like it's a JDM car. Okay, this one FD I think he was selling was a USDM. Anyway, I made a comment, like a general comment, just kind of in support of Wolfrain, saying like, "Oh yeah, you can always count on Wolfrain to bring sweet JDM cars." And I got ripped about like, "Oh, it's not actually JDM, blah blah blah." And then I can't remember what I said in my own defense. But I got ripped for that too. Like I was like, I just need to shut up now. It was bad.
I don't know. The internet's.
Well, anyway, but there are Japanese cars of Japanese origin in club racing, in vintage racing for sure. Like I have a couple of, there are a couple like peanut Corollas that race with CSRG and a lot of 510s now these days. Some Z cars, stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, so there's some cool stuff for sure. Like, you know. Some things that fans of Japanese cars would appreciate.
Yeah, there's not many people bridging the gap between the drifting stuff and like actual racing and vintage stuff until
for a reason though. Like, well, go on.
Yeah, it's interesting how much money is kind of coming into drifting and how it's becoming like this very big thing. I can't help but think at some point that, I don't know, maybe even some pro cars here and there are going to get like tucked away after a season. Yeah. And they're not going to get turned into like
there are some pro cars that exist like that. Like I remember Conrad's car didn't, Geoff, damn man, I'm having a bad time with names tonight. Geoff, who does wiring down in SoCal, I think he's in SoCal, has a FD with a really crazy kit on it. Or
Aaron Parker?
No,
he does wiring
his
too
name,
with an
his
FD
name's
also.
Geoff for sure. I mean, it's a great name. Damn, I can't remember now. Anyway, yeah, I think he bought Conrad's car. Anyway, but yeah, it was like one of those hand-cooked Camaros.
Then is it just sitting? Like I feel
like Rich Kong had it sitting at Megan for years. He also has Taka's Hachi that me and Bohan did the livery on. The Megan livery with the swoop up with the big Lifeblasters on the fenders and stuff. Yeah. That whole like, no, I shouldn't say that. It devalues sponsorships. Never mind. I want to talk about some things people have traded sponsorships for. Everyone should know that the fender sticker on a pro drift car is like $50,000 plus.
Now,
you know, the door sticker on a drift car, like that shit is not free.
What'd you do for the Lifeblaster sticker, Geoff?
We applied the vinyl.
That's what I'm talking about.
Bohan printed it.
Yeah, that's fair. He
we produced the livery and installed it.
Yeah, that's worth it.
For like a prominent Fender logo, that I think that's a bit much, honestly. Yeah. I think we got a good deal.
Yeah,
Taka's the homie. Love you, Taka.
Yeah, Taka's
and Conrad and Rich Kong. I love Rich Kong, man. I love you, buddy. I miss you. Anyway.
Yeah. Do you see any similarities between your drivers at CSRG and Thunder Drift at all?
No. No, man, not really. Like, Yeah, no, just no. It's a whole different world. Yeah, everybody's old and people still party pretty decent.
That's good.
Like I'm the one who doesn't. Like I'm kind of a, you know what? Okay, I'm on my 8th year as race director. The last 3 events of this year, the Charity Challenge, the Laps for Laguna, and the Thunder Hill Finale, are the first events where I have stayed at the track.
Really?
Like,
Otherwise, you just
because I
you're
borrowed
out.
a camper from my parents,
Yeah.
and like I have a camper I pull behind my 4Runner now. But yeah, otherwise no. Like Sonoma and Thunder Hill events, I drive home because my house is an hour away, so I just go home. I'd rather be at home anyway. But
Yeah.
so
all
I
the
stayed,
raging in the Formula D days are.
yeah, long since over. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm trying to be a lot better person now in general.
That's good.
I mean, I have been for
You
a long
weren't a
time.
bad person.
Yeah, I mean, I was to a certain extent. Maybe I'm being hard on myself. I don't know.
I think you're being hard on yourself.
I think if we look, especially as men, if we look at our own past lives through the lens of 2023, we could probably all say we were not the best people. Or maybe some people are still squeaky clean.
I don't think everybody has. I don't think everybody has the ability to self-reflect and want to be a better person.
Okay, I mean, I'll take that. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, yeah, no, and you know what? It's funny. Like there are things when like you see or you experience like from years ago where you're like, oh man, I missed that. And there are things that you experience or remember about yourself, and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I used to.
Everybody's like that.
You know what?
Everybody's got
one of those for me.
Yeah.
Sailor Jerry.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Bohan gave me a 5th of Sailor Jerry on my wedding day a couple years back now. And like, dude, I have not touched it. It's like, it's gonna, it's a memory.
It's like a relic.
But
of
I
your
think
past.
about it and I'm like, I used to drink that shit. I used to love that shit.
Yeah.
I used to really enjoy.
You came and partied at the Low Budget Crew house like a long time ago. You came with like Andy Gillespie.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man, that
Yeah.
was a long time ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like a decade.
Love
at
you,
least.
Andy. Yeah.
But yeah, you also officiated Jason Bostrom's wedding. That was cool.
That was super fun. Yeah, that was something I got to do. I've done. Oh man, I hope I don't forget any. That's a big insult. Well, Shreve and Baby J are the two that stick out in my memory. It was great. And then my roommate, my old roommate, officiated my wedding.
Nice.
But by similar circumstance, it was
You're
like,
like, hey man, can you
it's
do
like,
this for me?
I want you to do this. I don't care that you're not a minister. Go fill out the form on ULC and let's do this thing.
Yeah.
And yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah. So now you're just, yeah. I can't imagine the difference in things people come to you about at a CSRG event versus a Thunder Drift event.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, I'll tell you the main difference is that at I have a booger in my nose.
No, you're good.
I just felt one. Okay,
No,
cool,
you're
we're good. So at CSRG, I have an awesome team. Like at Thunderdrift, I had an awesome team, but it was very shoestring. It was like me, my number 2, either Scott or Rye, depending on what era it was, and then like my team of judges. If it was a comp, I had 3 judges who I could like get to help. And then a lot of times it was like random people, significant others, people whose cars broke, stuff like that, who just chipped in and helped out and helped shag cones or run the starting line or whatever, that kind of stuff. CSRG, dude, I've got a team of like 30 plus people at an event. I've got a crew. I've got a tech inspection crew, and I have a chief of tech. I have a grid crew, and I have a chief of grid. I have a chief steward in the tower and another steward under him, and I have 2 timing people. And then I have 3 people in registration and a chief of registration. So what I'm getting at is that if everything's going right, I really don't actually have to do that much at an event. Like if things go well,
It's all preparation beforehand.
it's a lot of hard prep beforehand. And I'll be honest, like a lot of being the race director is kind of just waving the magic wand and like accepting people from the rules. It's like when like everybody knows the deal, everybody knows the rules, and they all go by the rules. And when somebody really needs some kind of exception, or I'm just not having any fun in this group, can I run my Porsche 356 in group 1 instead of group 2? And I go, yes, you may. And that's, and like it's.
They're like, that Geoff, he's a good guy.
I mean, I try. Well, and then like I'm also the dark cloud that shows up after you've crashed your car in the wall, and I have to take an incident report and investigate and all that. So it's like I get a lot, like when I come rolling up into people's pits, a lot of them go like, uh-oh, like what did we do? And I'm like, no, guys, I swear I come in peace. Like, but
what's like the gnarliest thing that you've seen at one of these like vintage, like,
oh man, I can't say. That's like, that's like insurance and stuff. I mean, I don't know. It or like just respect.
Bring. Hello. It's your car calling, and it said, dude, please align me. I am so out of alignment. My chakras are so misaligned. Well, guess what? Over here at the Goodest Cast and goodestco.com, we got you covered. We got toe plates. And if you're driving like ass and you're like, hey, it can't be me, it must be my alignment, Goodest Co toe plates, baby. Also, I have another announcement. Goodest Co Naboris. I spent a lot of time on this with my artists. I also had Yota from Splash do them. So they're from Japan. They're like legit Japanese Naboris. I'm so excited to drop these. I'm wrapped in one right now. I got one hanging in my garage. I think you'll like them. Goodestco.com. Go check them out. Goodest Cast, Goodest Co, Goodest Gang. I love y'all. We out. Thank you. You're the best. Yeah, I think a lot of these like tracks and racing kind of thing. Like we just did Grid Life Laguna, right? Insane.
That looked like a sick event, by the way. I wish I was there. I was here shooting cars.
Yeah. I mean, like, can you ever, like, you've done events at Laguna, like, you know how they are, like, knowing that like they allowed a bunch of drifters on track. And it actually went pretty well. Like, I
mean, they were like pretty good drifters though, for the most part, right? I saw they let Ryan Literal out there. Just kidding. I love you, Ryan. Yeah, actually, it's funny. He was one of the few people I saw out there. It was him and Matt Field, and I mean, I know there were a bunch more people, but like they had like, it was like invite kind of drifters, right? It wasn't just like any old Joe could sign up. Yeah. So I mean, that's cool.
I got to drive it. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, you're a good drifter.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I definitely fell out of place a bit, but
yeah. I mean, you guys. There were those photos of you right next to the swimming pool, and neither of you drifted into the swimming pool, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I only went off aggressively once.
During the swimming pool shoot? Or during Grid Life?
Grid Life. Yeah, I never made it in the swimming pool. We jumped in the swimming pool.
Yeah. That was a really cool shoot, by the way. I like those photos a lot.
Yeah, Laura did a great job with those. That was like a really just kind of, both cars were there, and we're like, kind of would be cool to shoot them. Like, has anyone done a pool photo shoot with
I don't think so.
Liveried up drift cars? I was like, I don't think anyone's ever done that.
Yeah.
See what happens.
It was sick.
The internet liked it.
It was sick. It's going to go down in history.
Yeah, a lot of drifting see me shirtless now.
Okay, that too, yeah.
I think about that sometimes. I'm like, a lot of you guys have seen me shirtless. Yeah. And that's okay. You know? I mean, I'm pale, whatever, dude. We're out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if like drifting events will ever be like, I don't know. I can't imagine like a vintage series of like drifting. I don't see that happening, but it would be really funny.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is a 1998, like vintage JDM street drifting car that ran from the police, and like, it's like that kind of.
I've heard of a few cars get built that way. Here, I've got a funny story. Do you remember it was the Animal Style event that Naoki came over for?
Yeah, the Super D.
The Super D Matsuri at Grange.
Yeah.
As it was referred to in those days.
Yes.
And so they hired me to be the event director for that event. And if any of you were at that event, you probably remember me running around like with my hair on fire, really upset about shit most of the time. Like, oh God, like, what do we do? Yeah. And I'll tell you that the biggest reason for that was that I got the insurance for that event. So it wasn't my policy.
The 2016 one?
Yeah, but I pulled a string. It was actually, big thanks goes out to NASA. It was NASA, National Autosport, not the space guys.
Way.
It was my connections at NASA. I said, "Hey guys, I'm running this event with these guys. I'm the event director. You know, I am in charge of making sure that this event is safe. So you know that a professional's on it, you know, and you can ensure this event with confidence that no shit is going to go down." And then I'm like holding people back from the hay bale line as Hurt is coming down the front straight and his hood is flying off. And I'm like, ah! Yeah, like I died inside many times that day. That was really brutal. By the way, in those days, I was doing more announcing than anything.
Yeah.
And the Shane-O Payton,
Yeah.
he did an awesome job on the mic.
Oh,
at that
he's
event.
such a good MC.
I remember being a little bit jealous because I
Yeah.
was like, man, I'm really having so much fun being an announcer these days. And like, I wish I was just on the mic and not here like sweating all of these people being
Shane-O's
insane. And I had a really
Shane-O's
good time listening to him. He was
legendary
good.
on the mic.
Yeah, yeah.
He's done like a couple of the Sonoma Drift like
Yeah.
Winter Jam comps, and like everyone's just dying in the audience. Like no, like the drifting is like
Yeah.
secondary to his commentary.
Yeah, like great energy, some humor, like
Yeah.
really good announcer for sure.
Yeah, those. Yeah, I cannot imagine having the insurance for Super D Montsuri, the first one, because it was.
Yeah, that
It
was
was
when Naoki and Julian did burnouts at FD in the parking lot and all that. Like it was just a whole lot of
Yep.
like me going,
Yep.
oh,
Yep.
oh God, I swear I'm not with these guys. Like, you know, like I always loved, you know, I always loved their rebellious nature, animal style and that kind of stuff, like being about grassroots and not so much about going for FD and all that. And like,
Yeah.
like
There was-
when Julian went and did Pro-Am Nats at Irwindale, like he had the sickest looking car that ever went to Pro-Am Nats, like
Yeah.
the lowest car for sure.
He also did I think he did the finals on 3 cylinders.
Oh, right, because the spark plug had melted itself into the cylinder head. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, just stories of perseverance and grassroots and all that. I love that about you guys and that whole crew. And like, anyway.
There was some stuff that led up to the burnouts though. It wasn't just like
No, I know.
it wasn't just like a.
But like that's the thing is like was and still am friends with all the FD higher up guys. So I was just sort of like, yeah, no, I'm not part of this. This is
There's like
definitely not
one
it.
guy at FD that likes to yell at people, you know, and I'm not going to say who it is, but if you know, kind
I
of
wonder.
thing. Yeah. Anyway,
wonder.
he
Oh man, I gotta tell you a story.
off the mic.
No.
Please.
I'll tell it on the mic.
Anyway, there was an altercation, and it like kind of kept on going, and then like it was just kind of like, you know what?
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, also, hey,
You
everybody.
mess with the bull, you get the horns, you know?
Everybody's got to remember that when you run events, like you hire somebody to yell at people. Like
Fair.
this person whose name will probably be repeated at some point. Like that's his job, man. He's just doing his.
He's
you
like
know,
the
so like you
enforcer.
gotta,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. He's not a bad guy. Love him. He's a teddy bear, but at the same time, yeah, he will fuck you right up.
Yeah.
So my story, and I feel okay about telling this because it just kind of reinforces like how you don't want to mess with him. Like just do what he says when he's screaming at you.
Yeah.
Also, like I think that his attitude has changed since then as well. But anyway, we're at New Jersey.
There's no beef, you know? I'm just,
Yeah,
I'm gonna put that out there. Like,
Oh, no,
there's beef,
yeah,
no one's
yeah.
bad. Like that was just it was a moment in time.
You know what? It brought a lot of publicity. That whole thing happening, it brought a lot of awareness on both sides. It was kind of, I think
Yeah.
if you really look at it
It was a
like that,
win-win,
it was,
you know?
yeah, kind of. and they got to do burnouts in the parking lot. That's always fun.
Yeah, who doesn't love a burnout?
Okay, so this is New Jersey, like, which we, by the way, always call the toilet bowl. Because, below ground, all that. Yeah. When
Yeah.
it rains, it would fill up.
Yeah, like if it was in Australia, it would go the other way.
You probably would, yeah. So we're at Jersey, and the kids, Kado and Rye Moore, who were like, yeah, God, I mean, they were like 19 or something. Like they were really kids.
Yeah.
And I was like supposed to be a little bit more responsible than that. And they were on longboards. I think maybe all three of us were on longboards. And it was after hours, track is cold, on like a Thursday or something. And we roll up to the pit exit, and Ryan and Rye ride down the hill, and they bomb down into the track on the longboards. And I'm like, again, older and wiser, and I'm like, I know I can't. I mean, I can't ride a skateboard faster than I can run.
Yeah.
Because like I will get hurt badly. So so I like eased my way down the hill, dragging one foot, very gingerly.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you guys, what are you doing? And Andy comes up and sees what's going on down there, and he comes running down there, and he says something to me that I'll never forget. He said, if you had fallen, what did he say? He said, if you had fallen and broken your leg, I would break your fucking face. And I got this image in my head of laying on the ground after having a skateboard crash and being like, medic, send help. My leg is and Andy coming up and just pummeling me. And like, granted, like that would never happen, of course. But like, I just like, it made that mental image for me, and I've never forgotten that. And I've always just been like, oh, it's him. Like, be careful what you say. I was like, he struck fear into my heart that day. That was, but I think we deserved it.
That many unhinged people in one place, you
got
gotta
all
have
these kids, drifting, and oh man, I mean,
Yeah. So gonna stick with the CSRG thing, not going back to running drift events anytime soon.
Yeah, over the years, people have suggested like, hey, let's like just do one event, like let's just do like a thunder drift throwback.
Like,
no, I you know what? Honestly, I've kind of gotten on board a few times, and then like it comes down to it, and I'm just like, nah, just assume not. Really busy these days. I mean, I've always been too busy. I've always had too much going on, and like doing that would be just purely for the fun of it. And I miss it. Like it was a ton of fun. It was an amazing part of my life. But I just don't have what it takes to revisit it just for that at this point.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I can't imagine. I feel like you've like been graduating. I feel like the vintage racing is like a graduation.
I don't want it to seem like I'm above it. I'm certainly not above it. Not for 1 second. I mean, it's above me, if anything. I just like, I can't quite do it. Yeah. But it would be cool. It would be cool. And I've suggested to some people a few times, like, hey, you should do it. Like, do it and make me the grand marshal or something.
Yeah. I'll just be there.
But you do it. But like, I mean, some people have told me that they think that certain people would come out for like, if I was doing it, whereas they wouldn't otherwise. And I don't know. Actually, I mean, I forget. I feel like we're just talking here and like a bunch of people are going to hear this. So if you would come out to a full track drift event because Geoff Pitts is putting it on, I mean, first of all, what's wrong with you? Go to the other events. They're perfectly good.
Yeah.
But secondly, like, call into the number below or write an email. And, if enough people want to do it, we'll do it. I mean, it's not.
This is actually a telethon.
This is.
we're trying to raise money.
Phone call. The phone lines are live now.
Yeah.
Call in. We're almost to our goal of 35 drifters. That's another thing too, actually, I think has changed a lot since from when I was running events to now. I think the perception has changed a lot because events now have a lot more drivers. I mean, I used to run Thunderdrift with like 20 cars, you know, like 20, 30 cars was like
like 30 cars at a Good Luck League is like dead.
Yeah. I want to say the most cars I have ever had at a full track drift event was like 50 or 60.
Yeah.
And that's tiny. I have 250 vintage cars at a good CSRG event.
Wow.
I mean, so it's like, it's a quantity thing too, where the track costs the same to rent, know? And so herein lies the problem. The track costs the same to rent. And on top of drifters being small in number, they're also not willing to pay. Like I charge, so at Thunder Hill, CSRG and a CSRG event entry is $700. And that's just for Saturday, Sunday. You can add on Friday for another $200, I think. And so, like it costs a lot more.
Yeah.
And that's
why you get a team.
100+ people out, to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, with drifting.
It's a big weekend.
with drifting, it's sort of a disadvantage on both sides because not only can you not get as many drivers, but they also are not willing to pay as much. If I recall correctly, when I was running full track drifting at Thunder Hill, I know for a fact I never charged more than $200 for an entry fee.
Yeah,
it was like 180,
which is great.
Which is great. But like it would be successful if it was $180 and there were like 120 drivers. That'd be awesome. But like, yeah, it doesn't really pay the bills in the end when you have such few numbers and they won't pay.
There's just a lot more drivers and like people. It's crazy. Like people aren't. There's not a lot of drivers who want to drive full track either. That's the thing. Like the skid pad's booked out the entire year, but like,
and there's more full track on West, right, than there is on East.
Yeah, and West is. They're both fun. East and West are fun, but it's like they're both technical. West is pretty technical in a drift car.
Yeah, like probably more so, right? I mean, lower speed, but like
there's definitely some
changes in speed and
there's like
turns that open up into larger turns and stuff like that 9-10. You come up over the hill and then into turn 9, which must be sweet drifting. Actually, I think maybe I've drifted that a couple times. And then if you were trying to link out into 10 and then onto the front straight, that's a big, it's an increasing radius. So
there's like that like I don't know what numbers they are, but it's like the section with like the big whoop in it and then the right hander.
I think that's 9 that you come into that pretty much 180
like
right
linking
hander.
Linking that you got to be moving.
Yeah.
And it's like not, there's not like a lot of cars that, well, you got to commit and have like a car that can do it. And it's just, I think skid pad drifting at Thunder Hill is what 95% of the people who drift want to do. Like if the full track, like they'd rather pay $150 to go drive the skid pad than $200 to drive the full track. And it's like, it's a lot cheaper to rent the skid pad.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Operating cost is way lower. Well, so the track, you have to buy insurance. You have to have medical standby. You have to pay the flaggers. Each one of those turn boxes that has a flagger in is a daily rate. You got to pay. I mean, there's a lot of it costs a lot to run a full track event. Sorry, I bumped the mic.
Cool.
But to rent the skid pad, like you piggyback off of the other group's medical. So like you don't have to pay for medical outright. Like you just rent the skid pad and the cones come with it.
Yeah.
And like it's $200 extra if you want it wet down by the water truck or whatever, it's all very nominal compared to full track rentals for sure.
Yeah. I mean, most people are just going and trying to get better and figure out car control and entries or
they should go to Bay Area drifting with Joe Ferrarisati. Oh, okay.
No comment. Anyway. I feel like teaching drifting's a thankless thing. It's pretty hard to do.
It's like, doing the Lord's work, man.
It's so hard to teach drifting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's interesting, isn't it? Like what was it like what was your first drift like? How did it feel? Did you have to really try for it or did it just happen?
I don't think that I don't know. I had been like sliding stuff, like skateboards and bikes.
Stuff.
So you kind of like knew.
So you understood the physics of it before.
Yeah, like you wanted to slide this much, but not too much. And so it was like kind of like, I played video games and kind of understood like slipping and not too, so I didn't really struggle that much.
Yeah. And some people just don't get it like at all.
I think it's hard to teach that first step. Like that first like balance. Cause it's like, especially somebody a lot of the people who are good didn't struggle that much learning. So it's like hard to put yourself in that position.
Or I think comfort with the physics of it via other experiences in life has a lot to do with it. Like a great example is Kado was doing motocross and stuff before he came to drifting. And when like, dude,
he's good at everything.
I was there the first day when Kado did his very first drift.
No way.
He was 16 years old. He was in the black S14 that ended up being his sister's, and then he took it back and prepped it into something and all that stuff. I told him to go out and to drive around in circles and the small skid pad is on a hill. And so you can feel the difference in gravity between the topmost point and the bottommost point. And you feel that like the G-force is the most at the bottommost point. And I said, okay, so just start driving in circles. And when you reach that bottom point and you feel that greatest G-force, give it a clutch kick and then just see what happens and try to follow it around. And he went out there and he just drifted. It was like there was no learning curve. It was like
he just did it.
The very first time he tried to drift, he drifted.
Yeah.
And he did circles like I told him to, and then he came in and said, "Okay, what next?" And I said, "Well, now do circles." And this is how I taught everybody. Like whenever I was teaching people to drift, was my sort of method. I would say, "Okay, now do it in the other direction," because everybody always does it to the left first, because you feel safer because you're farther away from the impact area.
Yeah.
So, okay, now do it to the right, and you're the one on the outside, and it feels a little scarier. And then once they can do that, I go, "Okay, now just transfer. Like it's gonna feel weird, but just be going one way and then drift the other way." And yeah, Ryan went out and just like did all of that immediately. He was just like, he was a natural. He was a natural, I tells you.
So you kind of taught Ryan Kado how to drift.
Nah, I mean like he taught himself. But I mean, I was there. I was there with Don and Edwin, and I think that was trying to remember if I met them before that. And they were like, "Hey, my kid, like he had that S14 for like 2 weeks, and he had his driver's license for like 3 weeks. He was so fresh. It was really, really cool. It was a cool thing to see."
That's that same 14 that Julian drove at.
Oh, really?
Is it? I think so. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I just taught 2 people how to drift.
Nice.
Like from never drifting. That was like the first time I've ever like. Actually, I taught at Farouk's drifting school at Thunderhill. Remember when he was doing like the Groupon drift school? That was
me and Farouk were partnered on that.
Were you?
Yeah, ACDA. Yeah.
Yeah, I was an instructor for a weekend. For that.
That's right. Yeah. I remember that. No, because we had I want to say, NorCal's best and brightest, man. All of like the really good dudes.
Yeah, Farouk would be like, "All right, I'm just gonna take you for the weekend."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that's a funny thing to Griffith, get into. ACDA, we had 7 or 8 cars, and they all lived at my house in West Oakland.
No way.
And they were all street parked in between those events. No, I shit you not. They were street parked, and we had to get did you not drive one of the school cars to the event?
Oh, I did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and probably came to my house.
I drove the automatic S13 coupe.
Yeah,
that had a rev limiter or something? Because it had a manual ECU in it or some craziness?
Right, so it had a rev limiter at like 3,500 revs or something.
It was weird.
Yeah. We had funny names for all the cars too. I don't remember what that car's name was, like the Ghost or something. And then remember we had that primer white S13 hatch that was cut into a truck that we called the Lady's Shoe. That car got towed off the street, and we didn't even care. Like it just like we never went to impound to get it or anything. It was like that car.
Who was
left.
it registered to, Geoff?
I don't know if it was registered. I don't know. I don't think we did any DMV paperwork on it. I don't remember now, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I guess for the sake of sounding more badass, yeah, they were completely unregistered. We just rolled with them. But
I think the car that I drove were like
they were pretty hot.
Like,
yeah,
don't get pulled over.
Yeah, I mean we purchased them all, but for very little money, and they were all in very bad condition.
That was the first time I ever drifted an E36 because he had that E36 where like there was just wood blocks holding the fucking windows up.
God, yeah.
It was on like lowering springs.
And I don't know how we ended up with a GTS Corolla. We paid like $1,500 for that. That was
I would not have brought that to the school.
That was nicer than my Corolla ever was. Yeah, we called it grape jelly. Remember, it was like metal flake purple.
Oh yeah.
And that car was a trooper, dude. That thing ran for a long time.
Didn't someone buy that? I can't remember.
Yeah,
I remember someone buying it.
Yeah, I think somebody bought it. Like it got sold on after the event kind of dissolved. So the deal was with that event was that. So. Man, I wonder if there's like a statute of limitations for this shit. I think it's cool to talk about. Whatever, it's all in Farouk's name. So
yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry, Farouk. Let's Farouk the roof off this.
So the deal was, so Groupon, when you work with Groupon, they want to offer your product or service for about 50% of what you normally sell it for.
Right.
Well, we created the business to sell on Groupon. So they were like, what's your discount going to be? We want it to be like 50% of what.
So you just said
and so
whatever
we're
your
like,
price would
well,
be.
we want to make $125 a person. So our regular rate is $250 a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it can be, businesses can be set up advantageously to work with companies like that,
Right.
especially in an obscure ass market like drift event instruction.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like for us,
What
it was
market
more,
research could they possibly do to make
Yeah,
sure that you're not lying?
it was more, yeah, right. It was more of a way just to promote it and to get it. I mean, that was the idea. I think Farouk came to me with was that like we could sell a ton of entries to this and process them on a level that is totally different from how we do a regular drift event, because these are people who are paying for like a 2-hour experience. And so, dude, we had like 60 students in a class, and we did 3
nuts.
classes a day or so. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I
It
got
was
paid $300 for the
crazy.
weekend. I don't want to do the math on.
No, but I remember that the instructors driving the cars caused more mechanical problems than the students did. Like in the end, because you guys
I
could all actually
didn't break
drive.
anything.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
Yeah,
But I was definitely like having fun,
dude, there was one day
because you give the
there's
like,
the demo ride,
the demo ride at the
Yeah,
end, and then I'm like,
and these
whoa.
people have never experienced drifting before.
Yeah, I
and
was
so
like,
you're gonna
I'm
blow
gonna
their mind.
I was like, I'm gonna tandem.
Yeah.
Brooks-
No, I remember.
I just remember his like waving his arms frantically at the gate, like because I think it was me and Will Griffith were like,
Yeah.
I was like chasing Will Griffith and like got pretty close, and he's just like, yeah.
Yeah, I remember one of those classes where, it's like we had such a high volume and it's like the show must go on. We had broken too many of the school cars. Kado had his personal S13 there, and we put that in, broke it instantly. And then my black S14 was there, and we put that in, and like, oh, dude, like they blew the head gasket or something. It was terrible.
Oh.
It was terrible. I regretted it so much. That a lot of regrets from that event series. But also like it was ambitious. Sometimes ambitious
cool.
projects fail. So
Me and Will Griffith had a great time. He brought his N64. We were like playing.
at the hotel and stuff.
Yeah, I think we were playing. He brought like the thing to plug it into the hotel TV. We were playing
Yeah.
like Mario Kart for IPAs, which was a terrible idea. And then
Beer cart. That's fantastic.
yeah, it was a great time. Because he was sponsored by Lagunitas at the time,
Oh,
and so
yeah.
he would get his
There you go.
His sponsorship from Lagunitas was put a sticker on your car, and we'll give you a 24-pack every week.
Deal,
And
right?
he was like, okay,
Okay, yeah.
So he brought his 24 packs for the weekend, and oh man, there is nothing worse than riding passenger trying to instruct people learning figure eights hungover.
Yeah,
I
and
can't,
I think a lot of that was going on at that series.
I can't
too,
I
yeah.
cannot think of a worse hell than I can put myself back
being spun around
in
over
that
and over.
in that position and just being like, yeah, but you gotta put on a face. You can't just be like, you're gonna make me
Like,
throw
bro, stop.
Yeah, like please, fucking like, it's not
Yeah.
you. It's not you. I promise.
Well, I was going to say, like, I know that like there was an agreement to pay the instructors, but still, even given that, like, there was a feeling, at least on my part, that like really the best dudes in NorCal were really like giving back to the community by coming in and instructing
It was
those
sick.
events. Although I guess it wasn't really the community because it was a bunch of random ass like people
Dude, it was
from
like-
Groupon.
Yeah, it was like this one girl's birthday, and they were like, she brought all her dad
Yeah,
brought
it's
her and
like-
all her friends to learn how to drift, and it was sick. It was her birthday, so I gave her 2 passenger laps, and
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when Groupon was telling us about who they're going to market it to and stuff, and we were like, okay, I guess. I mean,
and it worked.
well, so here's the thing. The whole premise was that Groupon was going to sell. They were saying like, oh, we're going to sell like 600 spots or something. And then you guys are going to, and that's what happened at first. The deal was that the first batch of sales happened on Groupon before we even owned the cars, before we had
Oh my
dates booked,
God.
before we had anything. We built the whole thing off the money from the first round. Ladies and gentlemen in the internet, this is a cautionary tale on how to
run a
or not
Ponzi
to
scheme?
run a business. Right. That is the classic Ponzi aspect, isn't it? Not my idea. I was along for the ride as the person who knew how to run events, for the record. But anyway, yeah, no, man, we built the thing
Right under the bus.
on the first on the first big check. And the idea was that, not that it would continue on like that perpetually as a Ponzi scheme, but that we would buy the cars with the first.
That's how all real businesses start.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, I don't think Farouk did not have any kind of nefarious intentions with starting that, know, and
it could have been a lot worse.
Oh, sure. Know? Yeah. Well, so that was the thing. So yeah, we bought the cars. We basically built the thing with the first check, which I want to say was like 35 grand or something. It was impressive. Nice. It was impressive what Groupon did. Like they sold a shitload of spots.
Do they get a piece? Like how's the Groupon thing work?
Yeah. No, they took a fee for sure. Yeah. But they, well, and of course, and you're selling it for 50% of the retail price. So you're taking a big cut on that too, of course,
Okay. So 35 grand and you got to go find a bunch of cars and
we got to find like 8 cars and rent the track. Like a lot of budgeting going on. Like we got to pay the instructors and whatever else. And so the deal was that we're like, okay, we buy everything. We make it through somehow this first group of people.
The next round, you're good.
Then the next round, Groupon sells another 600, gives us another 30 grand. We had a whole plan. Like we're going to put oil coolers and big radiators in every car and all this, like building the cars up to where they wouldn't break so badly all the time, and because I mean, the deal was it was hard on the cars because the cars are getting run close to the red line at almost no speed.
Yeah.
And so there was no air going on. Yeah. It was just overheating was the main thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh dude. And we had like Mishimoto was helping us with radiators and whatever, all a bunch of bullshit. And it just the deal was that really, really killed it was that on the second round, Groupon didn't sell 600 spots. They sold like 150 spots. And it was just like, yeah, we can't do this. Like this is just not going to work. It was just like, them's the breaks. And I do remember that, I mean, speaking of Ponzi schemes, in the end, like there was a struggle to service all of the customers who had bought, who had bought the slots. And I remember that like, a year or two after the thing was like completely over, I still had some people calling me going like, hey, I've got the certificate. Like, can I redeem it? And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't even exist anymore. Sorry. So like there were a few people who aided on that, but I mean, not.
Well, they should have got in early,
Yeah. I mean, like I was going to say, it was a very, very, it was a small number of people and it was way late in the game. So
yeah, I mean, I got the certificate. Can I come drive like a year and a half later?
Yeah. It's like, there kind of is a limit on that stuff.
Yeah.
What the frick is up? Coro Works fam. Thank you for supporting the podcast. You guys, if you want the coolest aero options, if you're in the dirty and you want the coolest builds, head to Coro Works, man. Go to their website, go to them in person, take them out to dinner, take them home after that. I don't know. Anyway, Coro Works, they got the coolest stuff there. Their engine bay dress up stuff sick. They got sick merch. And if you want a discount on that stuff, code Goodest boy. That's BOI. Run it up. Check out what they got. Buy some parts from them. Befriend them. Drive with them. Coro Works. Go shout them out. Shout them from the rooftops. Shout them from the biggest canyon valley. Go to the Grand Canyon and just shout, Coro Works! I think. Yeah. Is that a good ad? Yeah? Okay, cool. Coro Works. Thanks, guys.
So no more drift schools.
Yeah, ACDA. Yeah, and we got that name from Don, by the way. Came from NCDA, which was Don's. Bob's Donuts Grip and Slip was their like instructional thing. Way back. NCDA. Yeah.
Anyway. Driving those cars to and from the.
Dude,
it was fun. Honestly,
I remember
like,
one
it was
time.
It sucks that you guys like lost a bunch of money or like didn't make any money, but like
it was a time in our lives, man.
It was like I have so many stories from that one weekend.
Yeah. No, it was. I remember the one time one car was dead. And we were trying to one car was dead and we were trying to get it within AAA range because we were just outside of AAA range. And so we were pushing it with one of the other cars dead down I-5. Like, so we're nose to tail. I want to say it was the red S14 was pushing.
Oh, the red S14 was a champion.
And the other car had a rod knock and it let go or so. I mean, it was whatever it was. It was, oh no, what the hell was it? Okay, no. One car had a rod knock leaving the track, and we were like, please hold on until we get
Into
inside
AAA
AAA
range.
range.
Yeah.
That's the story. And so we're like driving it gingerly down 162, and the other car is like right behind it, and it fucking scattered the motor. Like it didn't just like it scattered that shit. And I remember, I think it was the red S14 had its windshield broken by chunks of like rod end caps out of the car in front of it. Yeah, from bouncing down I-5. And so then we weren't quite. It didn't make it. It didn't make it to in range.
How many cars do you think like get picked up on the side of the road I-5 like just the like 20 miles down the road
from Thunder Hill?
Yeah.
It's a lot,
Yeah.
a whole lot. But yeah. Anyway, and so then the only thing we could do, we pushed the car that had just popped the motor. We pushed it with the other car, and then I remember that pushing the car down the road was causing the push car to not get any air through the radiator,
So
and it fucking overheated. Yeah, it was just like that whole thing, man. Yeah, it was a shit show. It was a whole big shit show. Fun times though.
Dude, that's I don't know. All the stuff that you've done has so many like good life experiences and stories, and I don't know.
Yeah, man. No, I've had fun. I've had so much fun in my career and in my life in general. Yeah. I like when I look back on it, I feel like I have traded fun in a lot of circumstances, especially career-wise. I've always traded having fun for like making real money, and it's and like I'm a happy person because of that. Like I'm a very kind of laid back person and like I take it pretty easy, but like I sure would like to be rich though too,
Yeah, I think we all would.
So, but then I had
like
a job that I hated and also didn't pay me anything. And so I feel like that kind of burned me on going to work somewhere that I hate,
Yeah, I mean, think about all the cool experiences that you've had, like all the places you've gotten to go, and
yeah,
I don't know.
Awesome.
No,
I have had fun.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll show my age here. You know what's the most fun though, honestly?
Huh?
Being a dad.
Yeah.
It's so rad, dude.
Yeah. So you like recently had a kid. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, she's like a year. Maybe she's a year and a half now. She July 21st of 22. Had a baby girl, and she's freaking awesome, man. Like I always. We don't have to go too far into this because this isn't about drifting.
That's good.
But,
talk about it all you want.
No, you know what? I guess like people who knew me a million years ago, like I've never been one to say that I'm never having kids, but I was very happy with the idea of not ever having kids. Like it was not a goal of mine, but it was just kind of like, I'm really happy and like I don't need kids to be happy. And I also have a lot of toys that I want to buy for myself and a lot of fun that I
still want to
have that I feel like I won't have if I have kids,
Yeah.
And so like that I'll be robbed of that somehow. And I gotta say, even coming from that attitude that when I had a kid, I experienced and have been experiencing a level of happiness that I didn't even understand existed before.
Interesting.
That like I really was truly happy before, but it's because I didn't even know how awesome being a dad is. Anyway, yeah. So that's why, yeah. I could cry right now, by the way. That's something too. When
Damn.
I had my baby, I'm so sappy now, man. I cry over all kinds of shit.
Yeah. Someone smarter than me just recently said, I don't know. I'm going to paraphrase it, but it was along the lines of having kids might be that purpose that like all humans kind of need to have. Happiness that we are looking for, I guess would be the best way to describe it.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, that's part of it is instinct and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Also part of the human experience. So
yeah.
Also
like, but like not mandatory. It's not for everybody, people who don't choose not to and stuff. Like I respect that. But man, like if I knew what I know now, I think I would have done it a little bit earlier. Like I don't feel bad that I waited so long, but like, yeah, I would have let it happen earlier. I kind of resisted it for a while.
You're like,
also, anybody out there who is not having kids because you don't feel ready financially or anything like that, newsflash, you will never be. So don't wait because of that. That was a kind of a big one for me. Is I'm like, oh, like I'm just not ready. My wife kind of pushed the issue a little bit just because of like physiological changes that women go through, and that, you know,
Right.
like if you're pregnant after 35, they refer to it as a geriatric pregnancy. Like,
What?
Yeah, no, stuff changes for women way more than men. And so, like, you know, just obviously a desire to kind of get it over with. And like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be doing that later.
Yeah.
So, but I mean,
no one wants to be geriatric.
Yeah, right. But huge thanks to her for pushing me along, because it's the best thing ever.
Huh.
Freaking awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine, but so many people who have had kids like talk about how it's the greatest thing ever once they do it. So
Yep, it's cool, man.
I'm
It's
not
cool.
there yet.
It's a lot of responsibility too. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta, you know what? Somebody told me before my daughter was born. He was like, what did he say? He was like, you can't look that little girl in the eye and like tell her you're a good person without actually being one. And I was
Accountability.
like, damn, it's true. It's really true. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it makes you look at yourself. Also really interesting on like kind of more like evil aspect, that like, this is a new person. You create their reality. Anything that you, you know, you can change anything about yourself. You can change, you know, a good example is like shoes off in the house, shoes on in the house. You know, like you could, if you lived your whole life wearing shoes in the house, and all of a sudden your baby's born and you're just like,
This is a shoes off
Yeah,
household.
this is a shoes off household. Like, they don't know any different. Like, you've
Yeah.
created their reality. So it's
There's
like,
like pictures of you with shoes on in the house, like
they're like, hey,
on the wall. Dude, what is this? That was a friend's house.
Like, you know, weird things that we don't think about. Like I've thought about it as it relates to my daughter. Like some people shower with washcloths, and some people wash themselves with their hands, and each side thinks that it's totally normal. Like,
Yep.
and sometimes people think that the person who does it the other way is really weird, but like they got under that impression somehow. And who's to say if their parents just decided that right when they were born, like, you know what, I've always wanted to use washcloths from
Like
now on.
let's run it up.
We're a washcloth family.
Yeah. Go to the store. Buy 20.
Yeah. So it's like you're
And like use some
responsible.
of them. Look at make it run them through the wash a bit.
You gotta keep up appearances here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like
we're trying to build a reality.
Yeah, it's like responsibility that like you wanna do the right things and like be the right way, but it's also like a lot of freedom that you get to just like choose what they think is right.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it really is.
A lot of power.
Yes. Excellent. Yeah, that's what I mean, is like you can get kind of Mr. Burnsy about it if you think about it. Like, you like, I can make them think anything I want, you know?
Yeah. Just totally change your political stance. Just,
Yeah, or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you can, you know, like you could have like raise her having silly accents or something. You know what I mean? Like you could do anything.
Oh, having kids and pretending you have an accent the entire
Yeah,
time.
like they, you know.
Oh, that'd be
That-
so insane.
Actually, that'd be really interesting.
so cool.
to see if you could make your kid
Have
have
an
an
accent?
accent when you. Yeah, I mean, I thought about that. I'm not good enough at accents to hold one up for that long. But
just like pretend you're.
what if you switched
English?
all the time? Would they end up like?
This sounds like an experiment.
Yeah, because
Could you keep it going though?
see? That's the problem for me.
Yeah,
I think
I
I don't
don't
think I
know.
could keep it going. Yeah.
I don't think I could run the con that long.
Yeah. No, me neither.
You'd be like,
yeah.
you'd like hit yourself with a hammer and be like, "Fuck," you know?
She's like, wait a minute, you said that like an American.
Yeah, where'd your accent go? You're like,
I saw something recently with a person. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was a young lady actor who could like switch from her native British accent to sounding totally American.
all those
like-
actors are really good at it. There's
Yeah,
like all
it's
those like
amazing.
English actors that are just like, "Oh yeah, hi, what's up? How's it going?" And you're just like, "How the fuck did you do that?"
Gary Oldman, dude. Gary Oldman is like the best. Yeah.
Yeah,
You seen True Romance?
I
Where he
haven't.
played Drexel. He's,
No.
you know, Gary Oldman's a British guy, right? And
Yeah.
he plays I don't know if he's actually black, if he's like an albino Jamaican or something, or if he's like kind of more of like a white guy who wishes that he's black, but he's
Yeah.
a very gangster, very like rough white dude with dreads in
Gary Oldman?
Yeah, Gary
Oh, I
Oldman.
need to see this.
Oh, yeah.
Because I love him in Fifth
True
Element.
Romance is fantastic.
All right, I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, for sure. Check that out.
Yeah, I can do some accents, but like only when people aren't around, you know.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not gonna do it now.
I used to have fun doing accents and stuff. Like when I was a flagger at Thunder Hill, I used to make my flagger calls in stupid accents sometimes. Like I'd spend all day as a really cheesy Sean Connery, like the classic, like Sean Connery, Schwarzenegger, that kind of stuff.
Sean Connery on like SNL.
Turn 3 is waving yellow for a car spun off in my exit. The car has now continued. Turn 3 canceling flag. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
I remember when you were at Thunder Hill and it was one of the Super D NYUs where we were driving full track and you just came over to the pit and you're like, I have heard red BMW off so many times today.
Yeah. You gotta stop, man.
I was like, all right, sorry, Geoff.
You know what? Funny story. I mean, just a brief one, but this stands out to me as like, I can't believe this happened, but it's interesting and nobody got hurt or killed. So like, I hope anyway, at one of my full track drift events, who knows, maybe at every single one of my full track drift events, but I know for sure at one of my full track drift events back in the day, there was a driver out among everybody who was on ecstasy.
No way.
I think that we both know him, and I won't say anymore. I mean, it's somebody. I mean, it's.
You can tell me after.
Yeah. But
was this during the hyphe movement? Was this like
I don't
late,
know. When
late
was
2000s?
And is our engineer on Wikipedia right now? Can we get a definition of when the hyphe movement was?
Well, hyphe movement was like a long time, but I think it like kind of fizzled off like after it fizzled out.
It fizzled out. Well played, sir.
Yeah.
I interviewed for Lifeblasters, I think. I interviewed Tajay from Souls of Mischief.
No way.
Yeah, super cool dude. And I remember talking to him about the hyphe movement. That was really interesting. Like, oh man, those are the days. Lifeblasters was really fun.
Was sick. Is it still up?
I don't even know, man. I'm not
Is
sure.
Is it hosted?
If it is, it's destroyed by spam. Like, when they hack into your thing and like all of the articles say like buy Viagra and shit.
Really?
Like, it got like obliterated. Yeah. I'm glad I saved, like I have all of my old photos and stuff and everything like on hard drives.
Was great.
Yeah, it was good times. Nobody wanted our other stuff, and like we were into so much more. It was the
artsy speed hunters.
Yeah. We were into so much more than drifting, and we want to shoot live music. There was that time in 2011. I didn't even go to FD. I missed a couple of rounds, and I went on a West Coast tour with the heavy metal band Jameson. That was awesome, and I was the tour photographer. That was like, talk about life experiences. That was like one of the craziest times of my life. It was 11 days, and I like tore a super gnarly ligament in my ankle and was like hobbled for the last half of it, and I was like totally destroyed the whole time, high and drunk, and man, I mean, just fantastic time. The deal was like a consummate car guy, and was completely restricted from driving the band van because I wasn't on like the insurance or something. And so I'm like, I can't drive for this whole 11 days. I'm going to get wasted. I'm just going to be destroyed this whole time. And also I found out that the band was, they were like a lot straighter laced than I was expecting. Like I ended up having
so you were the wild one.
I had to like encourage them to live like rock stars. I'm like, you guys are the rock stars here. Why am I the one who's, that my best move was when we would get to a venue, they'd give us drink tickets for the whole crew before the show.
Yeah.
And the band were such church girls that they would not drink anything or smoke or anything before the show. And I'm like, I'm the photographer and I need to be artistic, so I can get fucked up immediately on arrival. And I would use up all the drink tickets. Like the band would have nothing. It was great. It was good. That was how they paid me. I don't think they actually paid me anything.
But it was a great life experience.
It was amazing. I wouldn't trade that for the world. I had super fun. The drummer was my friend, and he's the one who invited me. And he and I were in each other's first band together when we were like 11 or 12 or so. So he was like childhood friend, and they were like a pretty legit band that was big for a minute. I don't know if you ever heard them. They did back when every metal band was doing like Michael Jackson covers and rap covers and stuff. They did a metal cover of Beat It. Which was like pretty cheesy. Most of their music was better than that, but yeah.
Sick.
But that was how they broke into the scene,
That's cool.
Yeah.
I can't imagine going on tour with a metal band and being the one instigating the party.
Yeah, like I felt weird about that, but I felt like it had to happen. And so I was like, I'm not going to just not have this just not happen. Like
Yeah,
now that
you're
I've
like-
discovered they're not going to do it, I have to make it what I thought it was going to be.
You had the vision of what going on tour with a band was going to be like.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, man.
Oh, but ecstasy at drift events and hyphy movement, all that other stuff. Yeah. I don't know. I think that I made a video out of that day, and I think I go up to this person and talk to them and like, hey man, what do you think of Thunderdrift? And he was like, hey, I love Thunderdrift. And like, if you go back and look, like his pupils are all big and stuff. And I'm like, oh God, I think it was him. I think he was on drugs. Anyway, but that happened. Nobody got hurt. And you know, I mean, I was really upset when I heard about it, but there's just literally nothing I could do about it, you know? So yeah.
I don't know. I can't imagine it would make you any better.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
I
would just want to hang out
probably
in the pits
feel
with my
great.
friends, honestly.
Yeah. Oh my God, this slide feels so
I
good.
probably just want ride-alongs and like tell my friends how much I love them, you know?
Oh man. Yeah.
Or maybe, that unlocks some, you know, other part of your
Yeah,
brain where
like,
you just become a monster.
You drift into the D dimension.
Yeah.
It's impossible to drive straight. Do you remember Overdrift?
Uh-uh.
Drifting history, YouTube, Overdrift. Thank me later. You're one step closer. I love you. Yeah. It's the land of the D dimension is the land of dinosaurs where everybody drifts. It's impossible to drive straight.
Fuck.
And the Kargamura family is a family of drifters. And the young Kargamura drifts so hard that he goes over the edge and drifts into the D dimension.
Oh, God. I gotta love the internet.
That was like maybe pre-YouTube. That might have been on like E-Bombs World or something. It was an old one. But yeah, Overdrift. Don't watch Overdrift 2. It's
Not as good.
They were
it's
trying.
overrated.
They realized how awesome they were like, we have fire and what is it, lightning in a bottle here. But it doesn't strike twice sometimes.
No. It's the unexpected nature of things that makes it good.
Yeah. You know what? Another just funny little aside about having kids and old internet.
Yeah.
We play stuff that's out of context for my daughter that she couldn't possibly understand. That's like so wrong that my wife and I laugh so hard about. Like, do you remember "Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared"?
No.
Where they sing that song about green is not a creative color. It's like really random, odd. It's like just weird YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
You remember Ultimate Muscle Roller Legend
No.
with the naked two-part
Yeah,
guy who
yeah,
flips and he's going down the that kind of stuff. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, there's the song from
Your daughter's gonna be a meme queen.
Yeah. We got a new puppy recently and we named him Charlie after Charlie, Candy Mountain, Charlie. That's because we just wanted to like say it like that when we call him, be like, Charlie, come here. He goes, oh, they took my kidney. You remember Charlie and Candy Mountain?
Yeah.
It's a Leopleurodon, Charlie. But so the thing we found the instrumental version of that. Or maybe it's not even instrumental. We found the "Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared" song on Spotify, and we play it for her, and we laugh our asses off.
And she loves it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a song. Like it doesn't, Yeah.
She's gonna like hear it like later on in her future and be like, "Why is this
See
remind me of my
when you see the
childhood?"
video where it's like, yeah, it's just internet weirdness. Yeah.
I like the experimenting. We'll see where it goes.
Man, I can remember so many of those things where you see something completely absurd and obscene on the internet, and like somebody is like, wow, how did you even find that? Where? And you go, drifting.
Yeah.
Like a drifter texted it to me, or I saw it on the forum. Back in the day, it was all the forums. It was like, I saw it. Everybody's laughing about it on NorCal Drift right now.
Oh man, NorCal Drift,
dude.
R.I.P.
Yeah. I mean, that's what
I got
so many of the
flamed
weird...
on NorCal Drift when I joined it.
Did you really?
I did, yeah. Flamed. There were some haters on there, man.
There really were, yeah. Yeah, and all
I wasn't
cool. E-thugs and all that.
Yeah.
There's so many personas. Yeah, NorCal Drift and Ziptide. Did you were you ever on Ziptide, or are you aware of it?
I wasn't around, I think, when they were picking people for Ziptide.
Right. See, I went through the application process.
Was there an application process for Ziptide?
And it was full of the most like, elitist gatekeeper drift bullshit ever. Like part of the application was you had to send a nude of the last person you slept with. Like the dumbest, like,
yeah, there was like a section of like chicks I hooked up with, and I was like,
yeah. There were all kinds of. Stopping myself right now.
I've heard about it. I haven't been on the site or anything.
Yeah, but it was really
I'm sure if you're on it, it was fucking cool.
Like it was cool. Also, I never understood why they allowed me in because like I never really had that much like drifter cred.
Yeah,
like,
but you're cool.
I was not like I'm not a cool drifter. Like I'm just the guy who runs events, and I wanted to go on there to promote my events. I'm coming on here as like a suit who's gonna like try to sell you guys shit. Yeah. And they were like, okay, cool. Yeah, you passed the application. I'm like, all right, shit. Vic, the founder of NorCal Drift, is the one who vouched for me. He got me my, it's like the Hells Angels. Like you have to get a vouch and you have to be a prospect and you have to like.
I don't know about the rules of joining the Hells Angels, Geoff. Why do you?
You don't watch documentary television?
I'm just trying to put you in a
man.
That's the curveball, Like,
oh yeah. Because I went to a drift event in Altamont. That's how. And there's a connection there,
Yeah.
So yeah, Ziptide, you had to jump through all kinds of stupid hoops. And I remember you had to have a sick car. Like they were very discerning and very judgmental about how cool your car was. And I didn't have a car like at all. I was
I think there was like some media people that got like let on there because they were just cool.
Yeah.
And they recognized that they probably should have media people.
I just, you know what? Like I can't imagine with like
Ziptide was a forum. If you don't know what Ziptide is.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
It was a forum. Before Facebook groups, there was these things called forums.
Yeah.
If you're 16 and you're listening
Zilvia was the biggie.
Yep,
which is still around, right? I think Zilvia is still around.
I think it like went down for a little bit and then it's back up.
When I was promoting my
rallycross,
events, I got banned permanently from Naziok, from the Subaru forums. Just jerks. They were just like I could never get guys to come to my rallycross events. I used to promote too.
I did.
Dude, actually, yeah. You and Alex and Sherry and their Matt Madrigali a little bit.
It was me, Sherry, and Matt Madrigali, and we shared a car.
Yeah, you guys had a great time. And it was like a rental car, right? It was like an enterprise rental.
Oh yeah.
Statute of limitations. Ancient history. That was
that was a long time ago. Yeah. So we rented a.
You guys tore a fender liner out of it, right?
Oh, we did a lot of damage. We did a lot of damage to that car.
Yeah,
Matt Madrigali went, put it on his credit card, got the full insurance.
Nice.
You told me.
You're right. I didn't say this.
You're
but
like some
a great
guy,
way to do it.
Some people will get a rental car and come to the rallycross. And I was
you know what? More recently, I used to rent my pace cars from for CSRG from Avis. I would get a Mustang, Camaro, Charger, whatever, I'd get what they would like their muscle car section. And you know what? I did it so many times that Avis gave me a corporate discount code to give to all CSRG members. And I've racked up a couple of free days of rental for being a frequent renter.
Lovely.
They were totally.
Thanks, Avis.
Yeah. And if anything, I would always give their cars back with more rubber on the tires than they left with because of all the fucking pickup from the track.
Yeah, you brought it back with like all the rubber beads.
A bunch of racing slick, nuggets all over it. I remember I would leave the track in the pace car and my first acceleration up to 80 or so. The
rental car rallycross day with your friends is the best.
It's awesome and can still be done today, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you should do it. I'm not a financial advisor, but advisor.
Yeah.
But dude, statute of limitations on that one.
There's a stock two-wheel drive class for a reason, man.
He called me and was like, I got the perfect car. And I was like, what'd you get? And he's like,
was it like a Focus or something?
No, we got a Golf.
Okay.
And he's like, dude, this thing is great. Like, it's going to be great. And we like went out there and like, I don't know if Matt said like I think he said the fastest time of the day.
You guys did good in it. Yeah.
I won.
Yeah. Like you guys were no slouches. You were good.
And
it's great how a stock car can take 4 people worth of beating,
Oh, dude, I launched that thing off the little like last jump. Like, because I was like, well, I'm not going to lift for where the timer is.
Where the timing light is. Yeah, I got it.
So I launched it and like I completely bent a wheel. It was on Steely's. DB'd a tire.
Yeah.
And then like we're like, fuck, what are we gonna do? We go in the back, full size spare.
Yeah, keep ripping.
Shout out Germany, you know?
Yeah, man.
So we like swapped it out, and then like a bunch of people, we're walking around the pits, you know, and we're just like, what do you got? Like, how do you guys not DB? They're like, what tire pressure you're running? We're like, I don't know. Whatever was in it.
Like,
they're like
stock.
They're like, go way up, you know?
Yeah,
And so we like went up to like 50 PSI or something, and
Yeah, and that did the trick.
yeah, they lasted. Ripped the fender liner out, ripped the under tray out. Definitely blew out some ball joints or bushings or something.
yeah.
Something in the front, like top hat, was like making crazy noises.
Yeah.
Check engine light came on the way back.
Yeah. And after another, 20,000 miles, Enterprise sold that car to somebody.
Yeah. And Matt, he dropped it off, and he said like the next day they called him, and he just didn't answer.
Oh.
And they just never called
Weird.
him again.
Huh. I mean, I've thrashed on my share of rent cars, and I've never actually caught any heat from it.
It was a time.
Yeah.
I had
Worth
I had a
it,
great time.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that it wasn't on my card. I'd do another one of those.
Yeah.
Was that just like trying to branch out and do like kind of more stuff, or was that just for fun?
Yeah, I mean, the Rallycross series was, I think Thunderhill was kind of pushing me to like utilize more portions of the facility. And I was like, oh, I can do Rallycross. Like that's, I've done, I have experience running autocross events.
Yeah.
Too poorly.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, we'll do that. And yeah, so I only did the Rallycross series in 2007 and 2008. And the reason we stopped is that the skid pad was very cheap to rent, had no other overhead, and we'd charge, I think the going rate was $100 an entry.
Yeah.
The Rallycross, we would spend about $2,500 renting the tractor and the water truck for the weekend. So there was equipment overhead. And on top of that, Rallycross drivers were like autocross drivers in that they were trained only spend $35 on an entry fee. What do you want me to say?
Okay.
Was it not that?
Yeah, it wasn't that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the theory. Yeah, they are programmed for it to be super cheap because at autocross, it's run shoestring. You have a lot of drivers, really low entry fee, and they make all the drivers work when you sign up and then you do your work session.
I don't even think you had us do anything.
Yeah, we had work session trade deals like that, but it's like we only had like 2 or 3 positions to be filled, so a lot of people just didn't have to do anything. But yeah, it was like running the stopwatch, and like there were like 2 or 3 course positions where you'd pick up cones. That was really it. The starter, wave the flag. But anyway, and so yeah, with the overhead and then the fact that the drivers just wouldn't pay an entry fee. They wouldn't pay a reasonable amount, like I think I raised it. Like I think they were used to paying about $35 and I think I was selling it for $50 an entry. And they were like, what are you doing, man? This is so expensive. How do you expect anybody to come out and autocross or rallycross, whatever,
$50.
$50 a piece? I'm like, oh my God, you guys. Like, have you guys seen drifters and
like
the kind of
indoor
setups they have?
Costs.
Yeah. And like,
provide the vehicle.
Hey, the drifters pay $100 and
And
there's some ragged drifters out there. Like, come on, man.
We're supposed to be the scum of the earth.
Yeah, like you guys are supposed to be somewhat, upstanding motorsports enthusiasts, and you just, yeah, man, what the hell? Anyway, so that's why Rallycross didn't last. It just wasn't worth it.
I think it was pretty cool going to Grid Life at Laguna and like seeing drifting kind of like the drivers meeting was, guys, please. Like, we are nervous. Like, they didn't want you.
I bet, yeah.
Like, they don't want you here. Like, we had to fight for this. They didn't want you drifting the corkscrew. We had to talk them into it.
Yeah.
They didn't want you they wanted you to just drive the course pretty much. And
and freshly paved and all the curbs are brand new painted. Everything is fresh.
Stay on the outside of turn 2, please.
Yeah.
Or don't,
because drifters are hard on tracks, man, with the dirt dropping and stuff like that. Chews up the side of the track. It's bad. It's permanent damage.
And so they were like, guys, please just for us.
Yeah, just chill.
Take it easy, 70%.
Yeah.
And so everybody went out and was just ripping first session, and we came back and they had there was another drivers meeting. A mandatory drivers meeting, all drifters, please come, blah, blah.
I saw the thing of Matt Kaufman linking from the bridge all the way like that. Yeah, that was some Forza shit. That was awesome.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People were talking about that at my CSRG event at Thunder Hill, and I reminded them about how way before any of that was happening, that guys were pulling the e-brake at the starter stand, in 5th gear at Thunder Hill and drifting into turn 1 and trying to link, from the straightaway into turn 1. I remember that was a big contest everybody did. But yeah,
Definitely,
yeah.
I linked turn 1 to turn 2 at Thunder Hill. I was pretty proud of that.
That's crazy. That's
I was pretty happy
big
with that.
gap. Wow, damn. I the best that I have done personally is I linked from 2 into 3, which is like much less consequential.
Well, I mean, what, like at a KA?
You know what? That actually, shout out to Lucky. Shout out to Erica. I don't know if you remember Erica.
I do remember Erica.
Yeah, you remember when Erica and Lucky were together?
I do. Well, I didn't know they were together. I actually knew Erica, but I didn't know Lucky.
Yeah, they broke up, and the whole drifting community, the way they referred to it was that Lucky lost his sponsorship. It was so bad.
Sorry,
Erica, who is like, she's really out of the scene now. I wish she would see this. It'd be really cool. But
she might. She's still around.
Yeah. Like I know I don't remember her significant other's name, but he's into 510s, and she's come out.
They live up in the North Bay now.
Yeah, they have come out to my vintage races a couple times.
Oh, cool.
When I've seen her most recently. But so Erica, though, really interesting person in those days. Like, I don't think anybody really knew like how cool she was. Like, she was working at Steve Gordon's. Yeah, she had the sickest car.
Yeah,
like she had one of the only cars that was painted all the same color. Yeah, had real wheels.
Yeah,
had all sick. It was
her car was
nice
really
car,
really good.
Like a 300 horse SR, something like that. I mean, it was a sick car.
I was like, damn.
And what I think a lot of people didn't realize is that for a long time, she's moved on from there now, but she restored Jags. Like, she worked for Steve Gordon, who is a like legendary Jaguar restorer. It's like 3 doors down from Wolfrain in that same development.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, she worked in there. And, I mean, like we have sold cars that Steve Gordon has built and stuff. I mean, like concourse level vintage Jaguars. And so, like, I don't think that I got the impression that the community did not understand like how cool of a car chick she really was. But yeah, as far as drifting goes, like, yeah, she was kind of the coolest as far as that went. And so yeah, the only time I've ever really tried to drift like a full lap of Thunder Hill East was one time, and it was in her car before it was painted.
Sick.
It was like maybe the last event before she painted it. And she was like, well, I'm going to paint my car, so like don't worry too much about the bodywork and stuff because it's going to get changed.
You're
anyway.
like, all right, I'm going to go for it.
I was like, all right, cool, let's do this. And I think I drifted through 2 and I linked into 3. I basically did the classic 3, 4, 5.
That's so
up
good.
Over the. I went up over the hill of 5. I drifted down the backside of the 5, and I was like on top of the world. I'm like, I can't believe I linked this. This is all working great. I had very little experience drifting even in 3rd gear. It was all 2nd gear on the skid pad.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I remember the feeling of drifting down the backside of 5 and shifting to 3rd.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, I was like, oh, 3rd gear, yeah. And I'm thinking about the time that I rode with Calvin Wan in his FD and like how to link from 5 into 6. And I just shit canned it at the bottom of 5. I spun it and went off track hella hard. And that was the end. And I just drove it gingerly in the rest of the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to the Laguna thing.
Yeah.
We go into the second driver's meeting. We're all nervous, like, what's going on, And then they're like, guys, you killed it. Like, they're super happy, go do your thing. Just don't, nobody, like, no hero shit, but like, whatever. And in my head, I'm like, fuck, I really want to do a backy into 2. And so, like, I kind of waited it out, but I was like, I feel comfortable. So I went for it, and I got like quite a few of them. And,
nice.
And like, dude, driving the corkscrew was like insane.
Oh, dude, even just driving it, not drifting it, but I mean, just going off.
I was like, I've never felt like I needed another 200 horsepower in my life.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Like 400 was like not enough. Because it's like that big drop, and like you're just you're constantly accelerating.
Thought about it that way. Yeah. I just remember the first time I drove Laguna versus like playing it in a video game. Yeah. You just get the feeling how like the game could never do it justice as far as how steep it is and how far down it is. It's like you're falling off a cliff. Like it's a crazy hill.
The top of the corkscrew into 10 was like linking
sick,
that was
Oh man, that must have felt awesome.
I did it like once or twice, and you're just like
yeah
because you're moving, dude.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that felt great.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
But it was cool. Like I think that's like a monumental moment for drifting.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah, Laguna has historically always been really like keep out to drifters. I mean, they're yeah.
and I don't blame them. I mean, like,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Not to just to go back and kind of put a cap on the thing about Erica and Lucky was just that Lucky drove her car. That's why we were like
she lost the sponsorship.
He lost the sponsorship, yeah, because Lucky participated in like every event in her car, yeah. So yeah, and like shout out to all of the drifting couples out there, like Alex and Sherry. I mean, that's like
they're like heavy into karting now.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
I love seeing those guys at the track. Like I especially always liked Alex. Alex was super cool. Would still change Sherry's tires for her after she would beat him in a competition.
I love that.
Yeah, that's love. That's real love right there.
Yeah, I share a shop with them, and their
cool.
antics
Yeah.
are like the best.
Yeah,
I don't know. They're just
I love those
they're
guys.
so about it.
I got to see Alex with some frequency when I was working at Thunder Hill, and he was working for Tesla.
Yeah,
So that was really cool to see him on a more regular basis. Yeah.
yeah. Like I've never been to Thunder Hill and not seen drifting on the skid pad. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Like they use it for vehicle testing.
Oh yeah. There are like manufacturers and stuff that do testing, and there's like, various different things.
Is it
Instructional
mainly
events.
drifting though?
Yeah, it's mainly drifting. Yeah,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah, it's
The
great.
guys, I mean, like, dude, SAC chapter of SCCA does autocross there, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like it's on the small side for an autocross facility, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, SCCA has a lot of weird draconian rules, like that your autocross course can't come within 50 feet of a solid object, and like things like that make it like parameters that you have to build the course around that make it
interesting.
harder.
Yeah,
It's
so people don't like wad their.
Yeah, so like thinking about that, like autocross is frequently held in parking lots. It's like to avoid light stands and things like that.
Yeah, gotcha.
But like I always felt like we had a scenario where that like those rules didn't really make sense. Like, why don't you just make your course go up to the edge of the skid pad? There's nothing to hit,
Yeah.
Like, no, we can't. We have to use this smaller area. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, just make new rules, man.
Rules are meant to be broken.
Yeah,
Autocross.
we're changed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that when people see like drifting on the skid pad, they like compare it to maybe like an autocross type of thing. And like,
You mean people who are not into drifting?
yeah.
I think a lot of people who are not into drifting see it and they compare it to like sideshows, like
God, I know. How do we
yeah,
save that?
You know what, man? That's an interesting aspect to look at it from.
Because like your CSRG people are like, you were involved with drifting things.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's and that was something like coming from a racing background and going into drifting in the first place. I had this idea that I really wanted to help legitimize drifting in the eyes of the rest of the motorsports community.
Yeah.
And I found out that it's impossible. It can't be done. It's not, but that, I guess to put it in a nicer way, that's not what it's for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like,
we don't have to prove ourselves. Well, I mean, we do like,
drifters need to prove themselves to the extent that other people at the track are not worried that you're going to steal their stuff. You know what I mean? Like if drifters would like not like wear black hoods, and like look like characters that are up to no good. But I mean, that was always like, that's something that I felt like went really well with my events, was that people from all walks of life and who look, like they come from all walks of life, I would always encourage people like, hey, go out into the event that's happening, at the rest of the track and go talk to these guys. Like the whole thing is, it's not like stay away from them. It's just go over there and be sure that they understand that like you're not there like scoping out their shit. Like you're there because you're a motorsports enthusiast and you want to check out their sweet car. And then they'll talk to you for 2 hours, man. Like that's especially vintage racing and like older people. Oh man, don't get them started talking about their cars. They'll talk to you for hours. And so, it's it's just a matter of
this is a
appearances.
Peter Van Winkle rear aero section.
You're like,
Absolutely love it.
I pounded this out of aluminum myself on my workbench at home. And but I mean, really, like I always encourage drifters to go out and experience the other event that we were doing our event in the middle of. But just to be like above board about it, just be like, be pleasant and speak up. Like, don't just be kind of milling around somebody's pit looking shifty. You'll freak people out. And that kind of helps perpetuate a negative view of drifters in general. But anyway, no, I feel like they did really well at that. Like that aspect of it went well. But then, when I say that that's not what it's for, it's just like, drifting is just about having fun. It's not supposed to be serious, in my opinion, anyway. It's very subjective, but it's supposed to be for having fun. And so, I guess I also don't appreciate the people who take it too seriously and are like, I'm a serious racer or whatever. Like, I want to be a serious pro drifter. Like, I think pro drifting should be way more about the characters and the personalities.
Like a WWE kind of thing?
Yes. Thanks for saying it. I didn't want to say it. I've said it a lot over the years. No, I mean, I think when people used to accuse FD of being scripted, I was like, it might be better if it was scripted. Like, who cares, And the personalities. Ross Petty, man.
Yeah.
Like, he was like the bad boy. I don't give a fuck about anything. Matt Lee Crew. Matt and Nate Deck and Tommy Roberts would come out to, and dress up as Motley Crue and, wear tight leopard spandex and shit and giant wigs and stuff. It was just like, there were all these different characters. Matt Field, dude, I used to, when Matt was first coming around in FD, which I think was about the same time Ryan was. In fact, Matt might've been 1 year earlier than Ryan, something like that. But I always really thought Matt would be excellent as the bad guy. Like, he's the villain, I remember a long, long time ago, back when, do you remember Gabe Stone?
Yeah.
Dude. So when Gabe Stone was in FD, which was like, if you knew him before that, you were like, what? Gabe Stone went to FD? Like, that's amazing.
Oh, I was around for that.
Yeah. So
I was like, sorry, Gabe, but.
So it was at Jersey and Gabe crashed and he was really sad about it. Gabe was a brilliant guy. I guess
isn't he like an aerospace engineer?
Yeah, he's literally that. He's an aerospace engineer. We used to give him shit that he couldn't talk about what he did for work, and so we would make fun of him and be like, "Oh yeah, you just say that because you're probably just the janitor there or something." But he worked for Lockheed.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, he was very
Didn't he drift
brilliant.
An old Camaro?
He drifted an IROC Z Camaro. Yeah. Hell yeah, brother! For a long, long time. Yeah. And then when he went pro, he had an E36. But
I remember that car. I remember watching, and I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah, you remember the Mike
video?
Rap video with Gabe Stone doing donuts?
Oh yeah.
My god, that was amazing.
Skating sideways.
Yeah, I guess yeah. So
Google that one.
The point is that Gabe was. Yeah, brilliant dude, sweetheart, total sweetheart, but really timid guy, very soft spoken and kind of sensitive, and just a kind of a timid guy. And so we did a lot to try to break Gabe out of his shell, you know what I mean?
Make him into a character.
And so stuff like that, when Mike did the rap video, I was like, I got just the guy to do the donuts. We're going to have Gabe Stone do it. And we had these
that was you?
hood. I mean, I think I recommended it. I mean,
Gabe volunteered. Set that up.
Well, I mean, it was my event. We did I let Mike shoot that at the end of the day at one of my events. Yeah. The deal was, just kind of building Gabe's character, that he's a kind of timid guy and that we used to do things to kind of push him into situations we knew made him uncomfortable.
Do you think that he would have done better in FD if he would have been a character? Do you think that that's a requirement to make it in these types of things? Because
no, I just think it would be a lot better. It would just make everything a lot better.
I think the characters are the ones that stick around.
Well, yeah, no, I totally agree. But the thing is that so many of these people who
it's like Monster Jam.
Yes,
drifting is pretty Formula Drift is very similar to
it's a spectacle and so
they want to come see Gravedigger.
Which is exactly.
Vaughn Gittin Jr.
Garage Bozo, those guys were a presence at the event, not just on the track, in the paddock. You go anywhere near and you smelled weed smoke and there was loud reggae, DJ, pounding bass and music. And their pit was a happening place. It was a cultural experience. Is awesome. And
I don't think it's like that anymore.
well, no, it's really not. And that's what I'm saying is that even guys who used to kind of have that like persona, they all at some point were like, I'm going to be serious about this. I'm going to be a serious racer or whatever.
Well, there's money in it.
And
now.
it's not.
They're like doing it's.
I guess I can't say because I don't know for sure. But
I think
yeah,
in the last like year or two, like
Yeah.
the sponsorship stuff has kind of been going on.
because I mean, yeah, back in the day, that was another thing too. Is like, not many people were making actual money.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there were a few like in my day. I mean, you know, it was like Chris, Vaughn, Reese was, you know, they were all Tanner. We're like doing real big boy stuff, but most other people, man, I don't know if it's. Well, shout out Race Service. Big shout out to Race Service, even though they didn't exist back then. But anyway, yeah, there's some key people who are brilliant, and I personally think are responsible for like the success of a lot of other people. And one of the founders of Race Service is one of those people. So anyway, yeah. But anyway,
what did they do? Like
somebody I've looked up for years.
Who
for
is
sure.
it?
Jacob Agajanian. Are you familiar? Do you know him?
My girlfriend used to work at Race Service.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, right.
I haven't met him though.
Okay, yeah. He's motorsports legacy, like on a really crazy level. JC Agajanian, who I believe is his grandfather, was like one of the most prolific promoters and car owners. And like you see JC Agajanian on, and it was Indy 500 stuff. So like way back, there was the Agajanian special and like all kinds of like heavy, the deepest, heaviest, most serious motorsports like royalty is Agajanian for sure. And so then I should know more about this, but his father and his, I want to say uncle, were also heavily involved in motorsports. And then when I met Jacob, I think he's a couple years older than me. I was about 17. He was like maybe like 18 or 19 or something. And you know what? It was actually at a event promoters convention in Reno.
Interesting.
Where he was, and this is like early 2000s, where he was preaching to a bunch of like good old boy dirt track promoters about how print is dead and stop advertising in the newspapers and all this stuff. And like, it's time, you know, advertise on the internet. And I was there as a young event promoter, like, hell yeah, man, that's how you do it. Forums, and you know, because like I was already hip to the new, the new deal, But anyway, so later on, he was running a company called, I think it was called MMI, Motorsports Marketing, and he is the one who got a lot of those guys. And pardon me, anybody who's listening to this who knows like the real story and like knows specifically who he was an agent for, but like he secured the big time sponsor, the Monsters, the, you know, energy drinks, all that kind of stuff. Like very, very, you know, Jacob was
I kind of wondered like how
stuff,
those connections got made, because it seems like there's like the few that are like really on a professional level, and all the privateers just like fucking
just like flapping in the wind, just trying really hard, So I mean, like the background there is securing real sponsorships for like real top tier pro drivers for NASCAR and Indy and stuff like that. Is like where that knowledge and skill came from. And so when it's applied to something like drifting, you can do amazing things. Yeah. You know, and I think like they're responsible for the whole the F1 Drive to Survive TV show, right? Ryan Davis goes and shoots that thing and all like that. I'm pretty sure that's all those guys doing it too. Anyway, really, really impressive stuff. If you ever have a chance to go work for them, I would condone it. How did your girlfriend like working for Race Service?
She liked it. Yeah. So it was cool. Yeah.
Cool.
It seemed like the projects were really interesting and lots of like, I don't know. I've been there a few times. It's a cool place to hang out. And
seems like a cool place too. I've never been to the facility. But
there's always cool cars there, and it's an interesting spot. It's like kind of this like weird anomaly of
like collective of some really brilliant people though too. Like I don't know James Kirkham well, but I mean, what a brain that guy has. And like his wife is a famous model and all, and like just like his whole fashion sense and everything. Like he's maybe the most fashionable guy I've ever seen related to motorsports, other than like Lewis Hamilton. You know, like wearing dresses and shit. Like James Kirkland.
Lewis Hamilton wears dresses? Is that like a new thing? He's
He
always had.
He goes to the Met Gala and wears dresses and stuff. Yeah, no, Hamilton is like cutting edge fashion. Like, what do you mean this doesn't look good? Of course, this looks good. But I feel like Kirkham is similar. Like he a little more like on like kind of the streetwear side of things, but like he's got a really aggressive, fashionable look to him that nobody else does. You know?
Yeah, and so like so you kind of like rubbed elbows with those guys also in like their early FD days too.
You know, I was at Kirkham's house one time. I don't think I even was formally introduced to him personally, but it was because of Shreve and Joe. They were the ones who were really hooked up with those guys, and I was hanging out with them and managed to stop by there one day. That was kind of it. But yeah, like Jacob, I've known, you know, off and on for a little bit. Like if you said Geoff Pitts, he'd know who I am. But
yeah, that's cool.
But then also their artist down there, I can't remember his real name. Ornamental Conifer is the name he goes by.
That stuff is...
Yeah, Nico. Yeah. He's awesome. Like I've been a fan of his since I was into like custom motorcycles and stuff.
Really?
And like, he was a huge artist and you know, like there's
his work's amazing.
Yeah, there's a motorcycle shop in Portland called CC. And every year they do.
I've been there.
Yeah, they
Sick,
do.
Yeah,
they do. They used to do, or think still do, a motorcycle show called the One Moto Show, and they do a helmet painting contest where everybody just paints Bell Custom 500s, little open face chopper helmets. And I want to say that was maybe the first place that I saw his work. And then Joe had his helmet custom painted by him. It was badass with like a tomahawk on it. It was like Native American homage stuff. And that was super sick. And actually, another little conifer connection. He did years ago. This is while I was living one of my many lives and my weird day jobs that I've had. I was a motorcycle courier in San Francisco.
Oh, I remember that.
I was doing like 200 miles a day inside city limits, just like ripping on a motorcycle. It was so much fun because I love riding, and that was amazing. And Conifer did a contest where he was like, I'm going to hide this prize somewhere in San Francisco, and I post some clues on my Instagram, and you guys have to go find it. And like, dude, I don't win things. I don't, you know, like I'm not lucky. I don't none of that shit. But I looked at it and I was like, well, I'm in the city and I'm on a motorcycle. I'm probably more mobile than anybody who's not on a motorcycle, at least. And I looked at where it was and I was like, I kind of think I know where that is. It was kind of by the giant arrow.
Oh yeah,
the bow and arrow, kind of near the bridge there, like by the And so I rode my motorcycle over there, really like trying to be realistic. I'm like, somebody else has got to have found it already. Like I'm not going to find it. And I found it. And it was a hand painted glass milk bottle that I gave to Rye. Rye has that, and inside was a rolled up piece of art, a page that I opened it up, and it in his stylized text it says "Laugh until you piss yourself," and I have that framed in my garage. I've had that since then. Yeah, it's awesome, man. Yeah, I love that shit.
Damn, small world.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like. Yeah, it's crazy to think that like drifting has these like connections into these like worlds. Yeah. Like I never thought I would be sitting in front of a gull wing talking about skating sideways and Gabe Stone doing donuts in this IROC Z. You know, like there's not really there's like some weird synchronicities to life. You know?
Okay, I got one more story.
Yeah.
This is from a little bit later, 2015 to 18, when I kind of shut down Thunder Drift and I started working for other events just as a event guy for hire. Because I realized, like, I'm not making much money running the drift events, and I have all the responsibility, and I can lose a lot of money, all this other stuff. It's so much nicer to go work for somebody else's event for a flat rate and just do that one job and then go home and not worry about it.
Yeah.
So I started helping Speed SF, and so I was kind of their event manager for a couple of years. Anyway, this is maybe the worst thing that I've like had a driver do at an event.
I can't wait.
It was hilarious, man. We had a 3-strike rule like that I instituted a deal where you get 3 black flags, you're done for the day. Cut off your wristband, you're out of here. Like you just, I mean, it's pretty reasonable, right?
Yeah.
Like just don't get so many damn black flags. Anyway, this kid was out there and he got 3 black flags and I was the Andy Luck of this, like if somebody had to get a beat down, it was me who had to get, that was my job, is to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
And so I kicked him out. I told him my whole spiel, cut off his wristband and whatever else. And he threw a fit. He threw a tantrum, like a little kid tantrum. And I remember, so I'm working the timing computer at the time, and I had turned around in my chair to talk to him, and he started yelling at me and cussing me out and all this stuff. And I was just like, I don't have time for this shit, man. And I just turned around and just went back to my computer as he's screaming at me. And he ripped my sunglasses off the top of my head and he threw them against the wall, the wall of the garage at Laguna. This is at Laguna. He was so pissed off. And I remember he said, "I'll kill your mother and father." And I was like, damn, dude, really? Like, that's really, like, because I cut off your wristband? Like, whoa, wow, okay. And I was like, I mean, like, should I call the sheriff on this guy, or like,
what's the backstory? Is it
like
some random person you've never had at events before?
Yeah, no, he's just a dude. Well, so here's the thing. Like, I was talking to
he was just grip day. Like,
yeah, just a grip day, and like young Asian dude, affluent, like Asian dude with money, and
what kind of car? Let's not say. We don't need to.
I don't remember. No, I don't remember. But I think maybe a Porsche. Something like that. But anyway, here's the thing. I remember going over this with Don and Patrick, who owned the event, who I was working for. And I'm like, I don't know what I should do right now. I kind of feel like I should like call the cops and have him arrested for assaulting me or whatever, something like that, And they were, and Patrick was like, no, man, just let it go. He said, he's just a spoiled brat. He's used to being able to buy his way out of any bad situation. And he's got himself in his first situation where money won't help him, and he just doesn't know how to handle it. Like, I mean, like, I know he's not going to kill my mother and father.
Yeah.
Stupid ass. But
I mean, that's definitely not getting you back on the track.
But yeah, right? Yeah. Like,
I don't know who taught him how to negotiate, but
yeah. But anyway, my big takeaway from that, I remember telling Patrick, he told me that he's like, he got in a situation where he couldn't buy his way out, and he just couldn't handle it. And I'm like, wait a minute. What about that situation made him think he couldn't buy his way out? If he had bribed me, I would have. You know what I mean? Like, what? That's something I've noticed, like, through my career. I've never been like bribed like that, and I don't know if I give off, like, if I have a vibe of like that I'm a really honest guy and can't be bribed. But let me tell you, everyone, I can be bribed. Like, for real, bribe me, please try. You know?
Yeah, start high too.
Well, I mean, that'd be nice, but you might be shocked at how low I'll go. I mean, I don't know what it would have taken for him to.
Don't tell him that.
I don't know what it would have taken for that dude. If that dude had been like, "Here's $500," I'd have been like, "Yeah, man, all right, cool. You get 3 more," or whatever. Like, I just like, because nobody does that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's what it really made me think when he said that. I was like, okay, like, for one, I don't feel so bad about it, and for two, it's like, wait, but why didn't he try to bribe me? If that's like his go-to problem solver, like, money solves my problems too. Like, yeah, solve my problems with money, dude. Absolutely.
You just look like you have a lot of, integrity or something.
Okay, I guess. Shit, I got to work on that. How to look like you have less integrity?
Yeah, I'd be like, well, I don't know.
Would that be a good
body language?
Would that be a good knuckle tats? Bribe me? Yes.
Yeah, start there, and then you never know.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's how you end up in a motorcycle gang.
Yeah, maybe so.
That's your first step.
You know what? I always, especially when I lived in Oakland, in West Oakland, like really close to here for about 10 years or so. Dude, if I could be in any motorcycle gang, I want to be in the East Bay Dragons. The East Bay Dragons are so cool.
Yeah.
But they're black only.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I can't. Like, I've never, it actually makes me a little sad.
It hurts being on the other end.
Yeah, I mean, I know that like, I don't want to act like I don't understand all the privileges that I have, because I certainly do. Life is different for us white guys than it is for a lot of people, and we should appreciate that. But at the
you
same
want to be part of the East Bay
I want to be in the East Bay Dragons, dude. Your jacket is the sickest. Like,
yeah.
Can I be down? I would love to be down.
What kind of bikes do the East Bay Dragons ride?
Way less shitty bikes than the East Bay Rats ride. That's for sure.
What are the East Bay Rats?
East Bay Rats ride anything. They ride like Ninja 250s that are spray painted black and shit. I don't know. Now I'm going to get East Bay Rat. My roommates used to go to their, they do like fight nights. They do like boxing. Like,
No
and
way.
anybody can join boxing matches.
What?
Yeah, this is here, like right down the street from here is their clubhouse. I don't know if they still do it anymore. They probably do.
That was probably really exciting.
They called them, was it called Hood Slam? Anyway, it was rad. It was like
Hood Slam's like
that's poetry, isn't it?
no, Hood Slam is it's just like Oakland like wrestling. Like,
Is it okay?
yeah, I've been to one.
Wait, no, but I think that's what it is, though. I think that was like either founded or sponsored by or takes place at the East Bay Rats clubhouse.
Oh, those are sick.
Yeah.
It's like,
But their bikes aren't though. Their bikes suck.
damn.
Not nearly as cool as the East Bay Dragons. And like I'm saying, the East Bay Dragons, their patch is the sickest, dude. It's a green. It's like like an Asian dragon.
Yeah.
Like Chinese New Year dragon kind of
Sick.
thing. Green dragon on yellow background.
Yeah.
In a giant patch. It's
I've
sick,
seen him.
Dude. It's sick.
Yeah, I've seen the cuts.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I see him on the highway and stuff, and I'm like, oh,
I want one.
yeah. Can I be down? Yeah.
How did you end up here? How did you end up slinging $1 million cars?
Beautiful. This is I am so happy and I'm so thankful for this place and like just where I'm at in life right now. So I worked. I was on the management team at Thunderhill from 2018 to 2021,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm really proud of what I did at Thunderhill. I was in charge of renting the track, so I was booking all the dates, and I broke records. Like I booked more dates than Thunderhill had ever had booked the year that I did that, and
Nice.
stuff like that.
We have a lot of connections, and you probably worked really hard at it.
Yeah, like I did a good job, but the job. I mean, like I had a lot of problems with my teammates around me. Like I had a lot of problems with feeling like nobody else on the team liked me, and that I was like, it ended up being a really unhappy place to go to work. And which, by the way, takes a lot, because think about like working at like a amusement park, think about working at a place that is the most fun place in the world for some
everybody
people.
else. Yeah.
Yeah. And like dreading going there because it's so like, anyway. Yeah. So I had to get out.
You were
of
in the
there.
Goofy suit at Disneyland.
Yeah, and like getting kicked by all the other characters behind the scenes, kind of thing, like and like holding down the fort for everybody too,
Yeah.
Anyway, it was just I had to get out of there. You know what?
Am I gonna get banned from Thunderhill from this podcast?
Drifting Connection. The Poplar brothers, Drew and Kyle Poplar.
I don't.
They're pretty old school. Do you remember Free Mode Drift Club? That was Thomas Olek and Drew Poplar and Yi Zhang and Kyle, Drew's little brother Kyle, and many others who I'm forgetting and not naming.
Shout out Thomas. He's driving again.
Dude, really?
Yeah.
Is he's still living in Utah? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I still text him all the time.
I love Thomas.
He's the best.
Yeah. So like some genuinely sweet people. Like I've met some of the most genuinely nice and awesome people in drifting than anywhere else in my whole life. It's really great. Bunch of genuinely good people. Anyway, so the Poplar brothers were in Free Mode Drift Club, and anyway, so years and years had gone by, and I saw Kyle. He was out at Thunderhill at an event, and we were just chatting and catching up, and he was like, "How are things going and stuff, and how are you doing here and everything." And like just in my conversation with him, I was just like, you know what, I'm not happy. Like I gotta end this.
Oh, you realized it was during the conversation.
Dude, like I put in my notice like that day or like the next day or something. It was like a huge turning point for me. I was just like, you know what, life's too short. I gotta leave this.
Yeah.
And also for the record, it's like not to blow up their spot. Actually, to blow up their spot. I was started as like an executive there. In 2018, my starting salary was $33,000 a year. Fuck that.
Like with bonus, can you get commission or anything?
No. Like advocate for yourself, everybody. Know your worth and charge that much. Whew. Hard work ain't cheap, and no. Good work ain't cheap, and cheap work ain't good.
Yep.
Amen. But anyway, so I left Thunderhill, and my plan was to go into real estate. I was like, that's going to be my boring job that I don't care about, where I make a shitload of money and I can be a race car driver for fun, and I can do whatever.
Yeah.
And so I left Thunderhill. You know what? I was cheating a little bit. I started going to real estate school online before I left Thunderhill. That was like a plan I was putting together as something to move into. And when I put in my notice at Thunderhill, I made a Facebook post and I said, like, I'm leaving Thunderhill. I'm going to be a free agent for a little bit while I kind of figure out what's next for me. So like, if you need, what I was kind of thinking was my jobs beforehand, just like working event jobs, like if, over the last 3 years, NASA had called me and wanted me to do commentary on their national championships. And I'm like, I can't, because this Thunderhill job is requiring so much of
so you didn't know
my life. Yeah. So like I had cut everything else off. And so I was kind of like, hey, to everybody who was hiring me for like an event here, an event there, I'm back on the market and let me know if I can help you. And I didn't say I was going into real estate, but I was like, I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do, but just, hit me up in the meantime. And Fantasy Junction hit me up out of nowhere. I never imagined that I would be back behind a camera. I had I loved photography when I was doing Lifeblasters, but I had no professional aspiration of ever becoming a photographer for real. And I had given that up years before because I just had too many irons in the fire. And I'm like, if I'm going to be successful at something, I got to whittle it down what I'm doing. And they were like, we need a photographer. We need, a couple other things. And seems like you'd be good for it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And yeah, honestly, I mean, it's the coolest job. I can't even dream up a cooler job than this. So for people who don't know, Fantasy Junction is a car dealership that's been around since the late 70s. And we don't only sell $1 million cars. We don't only sell old cars, but we only sell cool cars.
Yeah.
So it's
the stuff that's in here is just insane.
I mean, and there's stuff, like the car Palmer's sitting behind is in front of is listed for 1.6 million. This car is, I want to say, in the $1.5 million range. But I mean, we have cars in the showroom that are, sell for 20 grand. Like there's not, there's really kind of something for everybody.
But they're all cool.
It's not only this pinkies out kind of stuff, but they're all interesting and cool in some way. And we sell some newer stuff. I sold a 96 Viper, which was super cool,
That's
but like
awesome.
a little more modern than the rest of what we do here.
Yeah.
But it just fits the bill of that it's cool and interesting and valuable.
Yeah. And you have to specify when you meet people who don't know that you're in the automotive community, when you work at Fantasy Junction, you're not.
It's not a strip club.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to tell a lot of people that. Yeah.
Because you got this strip club DJ voice,
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
We've now entered the late night Goodest cast hour. Ladies, feel free to call in. And my wife especially, if you'd like to call in, honey, you know my number. But yeah, I mean, this job, I could go on for hours and hours about how amazing it is. I've been here since August of 2021. And in that time, I have shot 350 cars for this place.
And they're all
all like bucket list cars. When I first started working here, I had driven maybe 3 Porsches in my whole life, maybe less, maybe 2 or something like that. And I felt lucky to have had the opportunity to drive those few that I had.
Yeah.
And now I've driven like 45 or 50 different Porsches. Like I've driven everything from the cheapest, crappiest one to like the Holy Grail 1973 RS Touring. I've driven those. And the best thing about it is that, hopefully I'm not like shooting myself in the foot here because it's all above board. But the best thing about it is that thing I enjoy the most is that I get to drive these cars hard.
Yeah.
It's not just like, I don't just drive them around the block,
Yeah.
The previous photographer told me when I was coming in here, he said, when we sell a lot on Bring a Trailer, we sell a lot online auctions and stuff. And there's a lot of these cars that get sold sight unseen. The potential buyer never comes here and puts their hands on it.
Yeah.
And so the previous photog said, if somebody's going to pay $500,000 for a fast car from the 60s, they want to know that it goes fast. Yeah. So you have to show them that it goes fast. And I'm like, yes, sir, with pleasure.
Yeah.
And it occurs to me that in a lot of cases, I am driving these cars more miles in one sitting and harder, revving higher, many other things than the previous owner maybe ever did during their like 30-year ownership, you know?
Yeah.
Like you get guys who don't ever drive their cars, or you get guys who, you know, Sunday drive their cars and stuff. And then it's like, you know, to sell them, the people buying them want to know that it'll still hit the red line. And I'm the man who gets to do that. So yeah, it's like I'm giddy with excitement all the time because I just get to like,
Yeah. Are there
the
cars that just
coolest
roll
shit.
in here and
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, I cannot wait to shoot this thing.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. And other cars, I think my favorite these days is cars that really surprise me, that I'm not expecting that.
To be amazing.
You know?
Yeah.
Like right now, for me, that car is that BMW M1.
Oh,
That
how
car,
cool is that?
dude, so cool. And like looking at it, I'm like, okay, like it's a BMW straight six, right? Like just like in a M3 or something.
Yeah.
That thing, the driving feel and the sound that it makes and the power delivery is exactly like a Porsche, Lamborghini, or Ferrari, Lamborghini, an 80s Italian mid-engine supercar. Like that car is every bit of that, like those other cars are. And I had so much fun shooting its driving video. Fantasy Junction on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, please. It's just barely over monetization level. So anyway, yeah, get to do that.
Dude, awesome.
But yeah, no, I mean, like I couldn't be happier. Like my job is amazing. It's really fantastic. It's amazing that I'm trusted with all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. Like I'm thinking about like what I could do next. Like that I am somewhat of a professional driver now as a result of what I've done here. And then maybe I could foray that into a SAG card or something and be a stunt driver, or I don't know. I mean, there's like so many different things that you could do from that, you know,
You're
or
like,
just more of this.
Have you totaled up the amount of money in vehicles that you've gotten to drive since you started?
Nowhere near. But
Like,
yeah, I mean, it's
talking like tens of millions of dollars easily.
Yeah, I mean, well, like 350 cars. I don't know. I don't know about on average, but I mean, we might be talking hundreds of millions. I don't know.
Oh, man.
And you know what? I remember it, dude. It was like my third day here. I got put in a 1959 Ferrari 250 GT, very long designation, Berlinetta alloy. A TDF, a Tour de France, one of 17 cars that in 1959 went and raced in the Tour de France and spanked their butts. And it's a Tour de France car race. By the way.
Yeah. Not the one with Lance Armstrong and his one nut.
Yeah. And so there are 17 of these cars that got campaigned in that race, and now they are known as the TDFs. And so this is like a really special car. I want to say values like 3.5 or 4 million, somewhere around there. And yeah, and I was like on day 3,
and you're like, okay.
And I was in the passenger seat. The boss is taking me for a ride, and we go up, and he has a house in Berkeley, and he was going to go down. I want to say, you know what? Yeah, I started in August. He was going to head down to the Monterey Historics because he was driving, and he said, "Hey, we're going to go by my house. I'm going to take a shower and put my to-go bag together. You're going to take this car and go shoot it in Tilden Park and then come back and pick me up and we'll both go back to the shop." And I'm like, I'm taking this car? Like, holy shit, man. And that I was freaking out about that day. And I feel like after that, it got normal pretty fast. Like,
yeah. Once you drive the $3.5 million car, you're like, what's a fucking million?
I guess maybe. Yeah, maybe that's like, get you like throwing you into the river versus like learning with water wings to swim,
Yeah,
you know?
like, we'll work them up, 20, 40,
yeah,
60.
no, it was just like,
no, here's a
boom,
3.5.
here you go. Like my first car was a Porsche 914 6, so like kind of, or like a cheap Targa, a couple of Porsches and stuff.
Yeah,
and then it was like, boom, Ferrari TDF. And I'm like, oh my God. But I feel like I got comfortable with that fairly quickly. And like, I don't have any apprehension about driving these cars around on the street, really. Like, I feel like people have a lot of apprehension about it, and they're like, I don't know how you drivers on the street are so crazy and whatever. Well, it's like, for one thing, when you're driving a car that looks like this, the thing that's distracting them is you. So like, they're probably not going to cream you because they can't stop looking at you.
Yeah.
Actually, I caused an accident one time, and I thought instant thought was, this must be what it's like, what it feels like to be a beautiful woman. Because I know lots of women who have told me that over the years that they've been like standing on the sidewalk and that like dudes have been gawking at them and crashed into shit as a result. Like maybe that's them embellishing a little, maybe that's them not being modest, but like at the same time, I feel like that happens, you know, like you're, whoa, damn, smash, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm coming up, I had come through the tunnel from
We're
Alameda.
easily distractible humans, you know?
Yeah, I was in this gorgeous maroon Ferrari 330 GTS, top down, and I had come out of the tunnel and I was coming up the Broadway on-ramp onto 880. And so it's like separated from 880 and I'm kind of rising up to it. And I look up and it's dead stop traffic on 880. And I see somebody and it's a lone person in a car. The driver is looking at me, phone out, like recording me and stuff, you know, like, oh my God, look at this car. And I was like, oh, like, cool, man, you know, and I look at him, I look forward, I hear, crash. And I go, oh shit. Like it was so close that I felt like bits of plastic, you know, rain on me. And I looked over and that dude rear-ended the shit out of the car in front of him. I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, he just did that because he was looking at me. Like that's like not me, but the car, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So
you're a beautiful woman for a day.
yeah, for a moment. Yeah. So that's one thing is like, Was it empowering? No, not really. Like I felt bad. I felt sorry that it happened to the guy. So yeah, but yeah, I don't mind taking cars out like that. And I, you know, knock on all the wood, have a good history of not me crashing into shit, both here and in my regular life. The one thing I'm always concerned about is mechanical failures. I dropped the valves out of a Jag XK120 on Tunnel Road, like kind of getting it in the twisties, and I felt really bad about that. Like everybody who works here is into racing, has raced at some point, or still races.
Yeah.
And as racing drivers, like it's kind of funny actually to think about. I'm an event official. I'm maybe the least racingest person here because I run events and I don't get to race that much.
Yeah.
They're all a bunch of drivers and they all have very little mechanical sympathy. Like they're the kind of guys like, fuck it, run it, you know, drive through it. Car makes a noise, turn up the radio kind of stuff, you know? Whereas, so like I had reached the top of the hill and turned around and reset my camera. And I was coming downhill, so I was going kind of mellow, and I just accelerated mellow, first gear, second gear, and I wasn't going to shift to third, so I just let off the gas. And as I decelerated, it made that rod knock noise. It was like, and I just went, oh God, oh, and I killed it. I killed it so fast. And I, texted the gang and was like, guys, I need a tow. I need, send the trailer. This is bad. Like this car's done.
Yeah.
And Tunnel Road is a really, really tight road too. So I actually, thank God it was downhill. I coasted it all the way down to the bottom of the hill where they could actually get me with the trailer.
Yeah.
And it didn't end up being too bad of a deal. The thing, it broke its valve springs, and the owner was like, oh man, I should have told you guys, like these high-strung race motors, like they wear out the valve springs, and like I should have replaced them. They were due. And like he was very apologetic about it and kind of like made it not totally my fault, which was really nice.
That's nice.
But I also had it on video. Like I texted my group chat and was like, yeah, this happened. And they're like, holy shit, are you serious? And I'm like, hang on. Okay, here's a clip, sent them a clip of it. Oh yeah. But anyway, I mean, realistically, 350 cars, I've had like 2 or 3 mechanical failures. So if you think about it, it's like under 1%.
Oh, that's cool. So you're a little bit more good. Like, these things are robust.
Yeah, it's like I don't have a huge amount of apprehension about doing it. And it's so much fun to go take out a car. Dude, I sold a 2004 Subaru STI, first year of the STI, by the way, which is, what made it special. And super tastefully modified in 2004, like with all the right stuff. It had the blue Cusco bolt-in roll bar.
Oh, yeah.
It had like everything that a Subaru guy would get in those days, yeah. And that car had 1,300 miles on it. That was like pristine, had been in a bubble for 20 years. And I took it out, and to this day, YouTube, Fantasy Junction, like, comment, subscribe, search WRX STI. I mean, it's the only one like that I've ever shot. We don't usually sell cars like that, but that was one of my favorite drive videos.
Why'd they pick that one? Just because of the mileage?
It was an owner that we know and have known for a long time, and is actually a really long-time vintage racing guy and has a really serious collection. And that was a car that he bought in 2004 as like a track toy. Like it was just nothing but a toy to him at that point. And he like, honestly, the 1,300 miles that were on it, probably most of them were track miles.
Huh.
You know, like he just took it out straight from the factory and ran some track days with it, and you know, and then just put it away.
He's
It was
like,
like,
yeah,
I'm done with this now.
Too
Yeah.
new for me.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we kind of sold it as a package. We were selling like 5 of his cars, and that was one of them. But anyway, yeah. But that, like, to this day, is one of my favorite driving videos. I use 2 microphones. I do one on the exterior and one on the interior, and then I kind of mix them together because just interior audio is boring and never does the exhaust justice.
Yeah.
And just exhaust is like
Too
a little
much.
too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you want to hear the click of a gated shifter and things like
yeah.
that. So yeah, so I do one inside, one outside. Well, with a turbo car like that, naturally, my second mic goes in the engine bay, and I get the
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, dude, that video is so sick. It's exhaust and blow off valve, and I just like am ripping. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. I think that's like, I think you have a job that people would do for pretty little.
Yeah, don't tell my bosses that. Like I mean, you know, like
You got to have trustworthy people. Though. You got to have
Right.
You got to have a Jeff Pitts. You know, Like,
Right. I
you
mean,
can't-
that's what-
you can't just throw anyone the keys to a $3.5 million car.
yeah. I guess, except that when I started, I thought I was everyone. And so I'm like, wait, you're just throwing the key. Oh, I mean, I guess I'm part of the club now. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just fake it till you make it, man.
Yeah.
You just go with it.
Yeah, you should start keeping track of how much money in cars you've gotten to drive.
Yeah, well, so actually, I do fully nerd out on the cars I drive, and I have a spreadsheet of every car that I've processed,
Oh, yeah.
and I track the year and like the decade, so I know like how many cars from the 60s, how many cars from the 70s.
Oh, that's cool.
And I track the color. I can tell you that silver and red are by far the most popular colors of cars I've dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
I keep track of manufacturer, country of origin, like a couple other things, and VIN numbers so that I can post them on VinWiki if I want to. And yeah, you know what? Selling price is just it hasn't made the cut. And it would be so hard for me to like get all that info for the previous ones, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd have to be paying so much attention when they sell to make sure I get the price. So yeah, that I haven't done, but
Yeah.
you know, I mean,
I mean, I guess who
I could probably
cares?
find an average or something and like
Yeah.
extrapolate that, but a lot of money, more money than I'll ever have.
Yeah.
That's another thing. A good friend of mine asked me a while ago. He said, "Would you rather do what you do and essentially experience a huge variety of cars for a really short amount of time, or own one of them and have it be your car and you can drive it whenever you want and do whatever you want with it?" And all
I already know the answer to that.
yeah, I was like, this for sure, you know? Yeah, because I mean, you know, yeah, it'd be cool to be able to like, you know, go take my wife to dinner in my super cool car or do something else, you know, let somebody else drive it or something.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I feel like I'm so fortunate for the opportunity I have to drive all these cars. That's another thing. Like, if I ever did get to a position where I was ready to purchase an investment grade car, I have a really good idea of what
you want.
I want, you
Yeah.
know, from firsthand experience.
Yeah.
When my friend asked me that question, my example to him, and I still think it's a great example, is that so the day before that, I had worked with a Ferrari 550 and a Ferrari 575, and there are those are not unobtainium Ferrari models. You know, they're worth a couple $100,000. They're not, you know, $1 million plus cars and stuff. And the thing I realized is like, there's a lot of people in the world who have driven a 550. There's a lot of people in the world who've owned a 550, and same goes for a 575. But I bet you the list of people who have driven both cars back to back on the same day, spiritedly on a mountain road, is pretty short.
Yeah.
And I've done that now, you know,
Yeah,
and like,
yeah.
that feels pretty damn cool. Like, okay, that's really sweet. And like, and I can tell you all kinds of cool little nerdy tidbits about comparing a 550 to a 575 and why I think I'd rather have a 550, you know, but anyway, yeah, that.
And now, yeah. And all of it is, well, not all of it, but like all of it is the lineage of motorsports, the drifting stuff, the vintage racing stuff. And then it all kind of like comes together and connections through this and that, like put you in this position. I get to have this super cool fucking job.
Yeah. No, I'm just like, I'm immensely lucky. I kind of like, I've known the owner of this place, who is the founder's son, by the way. The founder still works here, but is no longer the owner. He's the old man. And I met the owner of this place when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and he was like 11 or 12 or something, and we were at Crow's Landing for SCCA vintage racing in like 90. You know what? I know exactly how old I was. It was 94. Anyway, he was there. It was a setup day. I was there helping my dad with the setup because he was running the event. Bruce, the old man, was driving in the event and just there hanging out. And Spencer had brought his go-kart, and he let me drive his go-kart. And that was how me and him met. And I'll like never forget that, because that was the first time I ever drove anything like fast. Like I remember the experience of driving a go-kart at like 8 or 9 years old, just like rocked my socks big time. That was cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, no,
Full circle.
I had no idea. I never would have even thought that what I do is a job to be done, all that stuff. Yeah, I'm like so thankful and lucky.
Yeah. Pretty sick.
Yeah.
Cool job.
Yeah.
Recent dad. Life's good.
Yeah, man.
Fuck drifting, dude.
Yeah. Babies too. Yeah. Can't say that enough. Babies are awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we've got it.
Yeah. Should we call it? It's, oh man, look, bless all you people who I've said like, thank God and all that kind of stuff a lot. I just want to make clear I'm really not religious in the slightest, but bless all your hearts, all of you viewers and listeners out there. I can't imagine anybody's listened this long. Like if you're still hanging in there,
Son.
That's amazing. I feel like I personally owe you something if you're still listening for this long. Like if you come by Fantasy Junction, I'll autograph something. I don't know if that's worth anything. Like I'll sign something for you, or I'll take a picture with you, or I'll take a picture of you for you.
Yeah, come by Fantasy Junction and just fucking want to kill yourself because you're poor.
You know what? Something else. Sorry. My alarm here. Something else I really love about this place and like the people that are responsible for this place happening is how open we are to the community. Like we get people in here all the time. I mean, like, so we are in Emeryville. Pixar Studios is right there.
Yep.
So like from here that way is like pretty nice. You know, maybe some might say bougie, some might say affluent.
Yeah.
Literally right there. Yeah. And on the other side of 40th Street is like world-class hood, like really like Pepsi challenge with any favela or whatever. I mean, like it's real hood down there.
Yep.
And so,
and you're not just saying that, you like lived there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've Lower Bottoms, man, Lower Bottoms lived there for 8 years or something. I forget the name of the other hood I lived in, but anyway, yeah, I mean, so the point is like, there's some people walking around who are like, they walk in, I guess a nice way to put it is, they're not eligible buyers, kids and people who are just like, obviously not from this world, and we're super welcoming to all of them. Like they come in and they're like, whoa, man, like, can I look around? And we're like, yeah, please do. Come look around. Like generate an appreciation for this kind of shit. Like experience this. This is,
that's cool.
Like I love that. Cause that's like, I feel like I'm that way.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool to be part of a group of people.
Walking in here, you're just like, oh, this is not my world.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I tell people like, look, as long as you want, like if you need a rag to mop up drool, like let me know. I can get you one, like it's, but I mean, it's like, we're open to the public 6 days a week. Anybody can walk in here and look through. And even if we can tell for sure that you don't have the money to buy $1 million car, it's fine. Come on down and dream, That's why it's called Fantasy Junction.
Yep. Definitely.
Sometimes we call it fancy junk.
Also fitting. But definitely come check it out. Thanks, Geoff. Yeah. Thanks for all you've done for NorCal drifting and drifting as a whole,
Thanks, man. No, I appreciate it. You know what? Super fun. And like I said, some of the best, like most genuinely awesome people I've met in my life have been through drifting. So
I agree.
Yeah. It didn't make me rich, but it made me rich in spirit and friends, which is what really matters anyway, isn't it?
community is important.
Damn right.
Community brings community.
Yeah.
Should we end it on the fucking worst quote of all time?
Community brings community.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, thank you, man. Thank you for building this rad ass podcast and having me on. And like, I was saying about how I get all like giddy like a schoolgirl when Jared texts me back. Like when you said you wanted me to be on your podcast, I was like, oh my God, me? Really? So anyway, that's super rad, dude. I appreciate it.
Of course. I mean, you had a lot to do with drifting in the place where I started, and
Yeah, well, thank you.
gave us a place to. I mean, the first drifting competition I ever did was yours. So.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I feel so fortunate to have been a part of so many people's like drifting origins, man. It's great. There have been a few people over the years who have told me things like that, like, you taught me how to drift or something, and I never looked at it that way, and I was like, wow, man, like, thanks. That's awesome. Like, that's really cool.
The things we do
Happy to do it.
The things we do have more impact than we expect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both good and bad. Anyway.
Yeah, right. This will be my first time on camera not making a fool out of myself, I hope. I mean, we've certainly had a lot of opportunities for me to make a fool of myself.
I think you've done a very good job navigating not making a fool out of yourself.
Trying. Don't watch the Hoonigan videos that I'm featured in. I really am embarrassed about those. I gotta say, one was the Brandon Kado came up. Were they running in the 25 hour? I think they came up to run in the 25 hour or something like that. And was it like Hoonigan and Travis Pastrana had like teamed up and they were going to come do the 25? Anyway, I took Brandon Kado and one of the other guys from Hoonigan around the track in the work truck and gave them like a verbal line, like, here's how you drive the track. And like, I don't know, I said some shit in there that I'm not proud of. Like, I just was not, I was like,
that's okay.
Like, I don't really feel that way. Why did I say that? Shit. And then, the other one was like at Hot August Nights. I just got done doing the commentary, and
when they had drifting, right?
Drunk
like,
and I'd been doing that. I was the MC.
I was there, and
So I was the
sad
MC.
I missed that one. That looked fun.
The course was terrible.
Yeah, I heard.
The course was awful.
Yeah,
it was like kind of like motoring J style. It was like way more for the spirit of it, like for the community than it was for the drivers. It was bad surface, but. Anyway, this was like after event partying our asses off. I was like drunk as a bucket of shit. And I made, I told some distasteful sex story or something. It's just like really bad. So thank you. This has been, I feel a lot more adult after this
you should
interview.
To many more in the future, as a member of the elite society of vintage motoring.
Yeah. Well, we sell about 10 cars a month, so come by anytime. There'll be new stuff that you haven't seen. It's one of the cool things about this place. It's always changing. I'm only here Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So even in the time that I'm gone, I come in on a Thursday and I go, wait, what? Like when that yellow Pantera came in, I'm like, whoa. Yeah. Like, tell me I get to go drive this one, Is it street legal? Let's do this. Let's go. Yeah, I love that stuff.
So the non-street legal ones you don't get to drive?
A little bit. Like,
you make it work.
It depends on how racy it is. Usually it's race cars, and so like the Seata 300 BC I did drive on the street, and like the Lotus 11 I did drive on the street. The NASCAR, we sold a Richard Petty NASCAR.
No way.
We drove it on the street. I didn't get to. I drove a follow cam car, and Big Boss Man drove it on the street.
Oh, I bet he had a big smile.
Did a pretty sick drift on Mandela Parkway. I thought it was pretty tight. Yeah, like he came out of one of the side streets, and he's turning right, and I'm right on his butt with my Tesla with the GoPro on the front of it. And so I'm going to stick it right. I know the angle is wide, so I'm going to stay close here. And he starts to hit it. And I mean, the car had crusty old tires. He just goes, whoop, 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 and it just goes, woo. And he just carried it all. It was very nice. For those of you who haven't driven a real race car, like a NASCAR or things like that, it's like the opposite. You know how you take a production car and you give it more steering angle to make it a good drift car?
Yeah.
Race cars have less steering angle than street cars do. So I mean, like,
is that actually for more like fine input?
I think they just have tighter tolerances in the fender wells and stuff. Like you end up
because
running
of the
it into
bigger tires.
bigger tires
Yeah,
and
so
things
they
like that.
limit the steering angle.
But I mean, like historically, if you go and hop in a real race car and you turn it to full lock, it's like they're really impossible to navigate around.
Yeah, they put like really quick racks, but like really small steering angle. It's cool. Interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, but
because they have like ducting and stuff usually for the brakes too.
Yeah, right. Like there's more going on in there that. But anyway, and so
he's at lock.
Yeah, so like when you break it loose in a car like that, you gotta really catch it fast because there's not much to work with there.
Yeah,
there's no safety net. So anyway, yeah, he did a really nice drift. And so the thing is, like, I'm a licensed racer. Like I have a competition license and I could go to the track and so there's been a few times where we have a race car and I'm like, we really need a driving video of this thing on the track. Like, why don't we tow it up to Sonoma for one of their open test days? And there hasn't been buy-in on that yet. I think part of the issue is that as a shop, we have a single car open trailer. So like maybe if we had at least a 2-car, it would be more efficient. I could take 2 cars up by myself and unload them, get driving videos and then bring them home.
Yep.
Whereas now,
I'm sure they're like, yeah, sure, Geoff.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing is like, I mean, that is a huge part of it.
You want to see
I just want to go drive on the track. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. A big part of it is just for my own pleasure, but like, it really would be beneficial to the sale. I think it's justifiable. And we do lots of things that are fun and do things for ourselves that are in the name of promoting our businesses, Why not?
It's true.
I always thought.
Yeah. Just need like a big fucking metal like magnet sticker. It's like, can buy at Fantasy Junction.
Oh yeah, right. Advertise it at the event.
Yeah, one of those goofy like.
Yeah, I just know like when you look at BAT auctions, how disappointed are you when there's no driving video? You got to have a driving video.
Yeah,
man.
Especially if it's like something custom or vintage or whatever.
Yeah, something cool. Like you gotta have one because otherwise. Like I was saying, people buying things sight unseen, and the other option, the kind of intermediary option, is to pay for a PPI for a pre-purchase inspection and have an independent mechanic come down and we entertain that. If somebody wants a PPI, we put the car on our lift and they can look around underneath it, they can test drive it, all that stuff. But like we find in a lot of cases, they just don't send anybody. Like they just end up buying the car
anyway. They're like, it's broken, I'll fix it.
They buy the car based on our listing. The photos and the videos.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's one of the things that's good about Fantasy Junction is we have a really good reputation in the market
for selling good cars.
Well, not of just selling good cars, but that it's not that we only sell perfect cars, is that we represent what we have accurately. Like we don't hide shit. If a car's got a problem, we represent it that way. And so then, just honest representation. I think that goes a long way towards buyer confidence.
Yep. Well, if you're looking at buying $1 million car, you're probably not listening to this podcast. But if you are, come on down.
Who knows? Hey, you know what, drifters? I mean, I'll tell you this.
Might get a good
I'll tell you this right now. Cars are way more fun investment than real estate or stocks. Because you can't drive your house or your stock portfolio.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
You can't, and you could definitely crash your stock portfolio.
Oh yeah, right. Wow, good point. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, really, like there are people you look. I actually on my office wall, I have a price sheet from like 1980. Yeah. And you look at the margin on some of these cars. Like you buy a Porsche, and keep it. If you bought a black 930 like that one and kept it for 20 years, like you'd be making thousands of % on that, as a return, which is
better than
the market. Yeah. So
what you're saying is
consider it.
E36 M3 that I bought, I maybe shouldn't have done what I did.
You might have modified it a little further than it can be brought back from. I think, no, but like case in point, my track day Miata.
Yeah.
Like I, for years, have been waiting for the stock engine to blow up so that I can put a K20 in it because I'm like, that's what I have to do. Like
your Honda boy roots are just.
And now, that too, actually, and now, like, I can't bring myself. I'm like, the only work I will do on that car is to restore it. Like the last thing I did to it was I cleaned up the job that a previous person had done with removing the carpet. Like they didn't remove the carpet under the stereo and everything. They literally just cut cut it away from the tunnel. So like the top of the tunnel still had carpet. It was like very janky.
Yep.
So I cleaned that all up, and like they had thrown away the door panels and stuff. So I put on like the nice black flat ABS plastic clean like race car door panels and like just tried to like civilize it a little more inside.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, this is becoming a collector car. Like I can't modify it. You know, like shit. I'm not wealthy enough to do that. If I'm going to have something like this that's going to hit big, I need to maximize that, you know? I saw a first gen Honda CRX go for like $18K on Bring a Trailer. And this was like right as my brother finished the B series swap into my old CRX that I had given it. And I was like, Graham, you shouldn't have done the swap, dude. You should have left it stock, man.
Yeah. How crazy is it seeing like S13s go for like 20 G's on Bring a Trailer? And you're just like,
it's
who's
wild.
buying this?
It's wild. I saw an automatic MX-73 Cressida go for like over 15. Like
You're like, who's buying that?
yeah, like what, you know, there are people who, you know,
Who's putting that in
my mom had this car when I was a kid. You know what? I actually, speaking of Cressidas, my buddy's mom actually did have a Cressida. Like when we were kids, she had an MX-83 Cressida. And like, I didn't for 1 second think of it as a performance car or like think that it had any kind of potential.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was just a grandma car.
Yeah.
You know, it was like it was basically a Camry. I don't think we even understood what rear wheel drive and front wheel drive was back then. It was like no significance that it was rear wheel drive. It's just like, okay, whatever. It's just a economy car or whatever. It's a mom car.
And now the MX-73 is going for 15 G's on Bring a Trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit. No more
how it works.
No more grandma fine S chassis or fucking RX-7s or anything. But
well, now it's like you gotta follow the progression of things. I mean, I'm sure you saw it happen with the BMWs was a big
I
big
got my
fad
M3
for a while.
for $3,000.
Yeah, right. Like at the right time, you could get an E36 for like nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and yours is an M3.
Mm-hmm.
Sick. I mean, that's like, you know, even at their lowest cost point, the M3 was still worth a little more because it's an M3.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's like to get a good car like that for that cheap is like, yeah. Porsches right now, first generation liquid cooled, like you can get a 996 Porsche Turbo for like 60 to 80 grand, which is like, you know, I mean, there are other ones that are going for, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like in the Porsche world, like that's cheap, man.
Yeah.
And for how much enjoyment you'll get out of a 996
Oh, 996 Turbo.
they are awesomely fun. In my
the same
opinion,
guy who designed the E36 designed the 996.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, it was the same car.
As far as
I liked both of them, and I found that out. I was like, huh.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, like you have a style.
Yeah.
As far as like the turbo and the power delivery and the engineering and everything, 996 was really the first one that Porsche got right. 993, the 930, and the 964 turbos are like, they're iconic and they're insanely valuable. They're not fun to drive.
Oh man.
They're not. I mean, so like we have a 930 right here.
Yeah.
And it's the last year of the 930 when they finally put a 5-speed in it. All the previous 930s, which are like...
Are 4 speeds?
They're 4 speeds. Yeah, and so you're like, I'm in an
How does
80s
that work on
Porsche
the
Turbo.
Autobahn?
Yeah, right? Well, they're long-ass gears, which is not really conducive to performance driving. Especially
with a turbo.
With a turbo, with a power band that's this wide. When you can rev to 6K and you don't get boost until 4.5. Like, you're talking about a very small percentage of your rev range. So 930s, 964s, 993s. 993s are like kind of starting to get there. Like 993s are at least power on a level that you can really use and like have fun with. Because then that's kind of another thing. Like after the 996, they got to be so powerful that like I've handled some late model GT3 RSs and like the really fancy high-end Porsches. Dude, they're so fast that you really can't have that much fun with them on the street.
Yeah.
Like,
because you got to hold back.
Yeah, because you are driving at so far under the car's potential. Whereas like...
Do you think that's why people like... do you think that's one of the reasons people like the vintage stuff is like...
It's one of the reasons I like it. I mean...
You're really... Like
slow,
you can really...
Slow cars fast, yeah.
Yeah, slow...
Yeah, like we had one of my favorite Porsches I've ever driven. We had a 1973 911T, which is not even like the hot model or anything, and it had its 2.7 punched out to 2.9, I think. Like it had been breathed on lightly, like it had some mild sauce on it.
Yeah.
And that was like the most fun car. It was so much fun. Plenty of power to play with. And we're talking like 215s in the front and 225s in the rear. So it's like you could drive it closer to its limit and not be going at a speed where you're like, I'm going to crash into somebody's house,
Yeah.
Like, or I'm going to go off a cliff or something. It's just like
because it's hard to get to the limit.
Yeah. Well, and the limit is so much lower that
it's hard to get to the limit in the newer
cars.
in
the newer cars. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, this car will do so much more than I'm even willing to do with it on the street, especially.
Yeah.
Like I've worked with those cars before and thought like, man, this would probably be really cool on a track day or something.
Yeah.
But like, there's
on
just
the
no
street,
point on the street.
What are you going to do? Get on the freeway fast and then...
Dude, we sold it was a C6 Vet, but it had been all worked over by Callaway. Talk about like, dude,
impossible to drive.
The only place that I could see having fun with that car is like you need a runway. Like you need like multiple miles of straight asphalt.
Yeah.
Because I remember driving a C6 Corvette when they were brand new, stock. And it was a hot one, it was a Z06 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, oh my God, this is a lot of power. I mean, they were like 600 horsepower or something stock back then. And so this guy came in with this one and was like, oh yeah, it's got the Callaway supercharger and all this other stuff. I'm like, what? Like, how do you make this car faster? Like, what? Really? And so, like, for instance, it had the exhaust that opens up and is louder if you go full throttle over a certain RPM. Like it has that like conditional louder exhaust. I couldn't demonstrate that in the drive video at all because in order to get it to do that louder exhaust, you have to be going like 150. Like you have to accelerate on a totally unreasonable level that I'm not trying to portray in my drive video.
Yeah.
So some of those cars are just too much.
You put it up on YouTube and the fucking cops show up. Like,
yeah. Let's not give them any ideas. I'm pretty lucky to do what I do as it is. But anyway, the newer cars, I definitely appreciate older cars with smaller tires, and slow cars fast is the most fun.
Yeah, slow
in
cars,
my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's like racing in Forza on the group server and everybody gets D-class cars. Like that's what it's all about. It's the most fun is had, in my opinion, in those kind of situations.
Like you really got to work for it.
Yeah, right. It's all driver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway.
So be a good driver. Come to Fantasy Junction.
Yeah.
Spend $1.5 million on a, Ferrari or something.
I get no commission, folks. Just, totally honest salesmanship here.
Just keep him employed so he keeps driving all these cool cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, on that note, you got anything else for the people?
I love you. I love all of you.
All right. Bye.